Hello everybody and welcome to the Curios cast Halloween special. It's been long awaited. This is the spooky special that I promised you all the way back in October 2019.
We got a smoke machine going.
Oh, you're going to smoke this? I can't see shit.
For anyone who's not watching, if you're listening to this through your podcast app and you've never watched an episode before on YouTube, this is the one to watch, or at least go and just have a look just to see how ridiculous we all look right now.
I'm probably now just completely covered in smoke.
Yeah, we've got a smoke machine going just for some spooky effects. There's some pumpkins chilling around, and we're all dressed up in different costumes, so it's definitely worth checking out.
Very spooky as well.
Yeah.
Too spooky for viewers under the age of 15 years old. Mostly because Tom's packet is on display.
I've covered it up. I've got my research covering my packet right now.
I might have to take my head off.
Yeah, you do sound like shit, actually.
So I'm gonna, viewers, are you ready for the big reveal?
Oh, it was you!
It was George the whole time.
I would have gotten away with it if it hadn't been for your meddling kids.
You're so loud straight
I
away.
I know,
Yeah,
sorry about
that was
that.
quite overpowering.
That's okay, but
Okay?
that's part of the spooky magic.
Look how low I was before. That's crazy.
Anyway, we haven't introduced our guest.
Yeah, so special guest, a returning favourite, a triumphant return. It is. You may recognise her if you're watching on video. It is the Faz Brown. Welcome, Faz.
Hello, thanks George. Thanks for having me back, guys.
Hey, no worries.
Yeah, last time I was on, I'd just had a fill-in at the dentist, so this time I'm in higher spirits.
You look it.
Yeah.
You look happy.
For people not watching, Faz is dressed as Mike Wazowski, and she's got all of her apparatus within the costume. So
And what were you dressed as, George?
I was dressed as Sully,
I dressed as, yeah.
which was a total coincidence.
It was an accidental couple's costume.
Yeah. My costume is a lot shitter than Faz's, even though it's from the same shop.
Definitely.
I don't know where my head's gone.
And to fit the theme, if you're not watching, Rob is currently dressed as a Jedi, Star Wars Jedi. In case you didn't know where Jedi's come from. Star Wars.
What Jedi are you dressed as?
I don't know what Jedi am I, Tom?
I don't know.
I'm some obscure Jedi that only like geeks know.
That is absolutely untrue.
Obi-Wan
You are
Ben
Obi-Wan
Kenobi.
I'm Obi-Wan, okay.
I think it was an Obi-Wan Kenobi costume.
Specifically an Obi-Wan Kenobi. Okay.
Yeah.
Old Ben Kenobi.
Yeah.
Only nerds.
Old.
No, I was just pretending if I was going to be a Jedi that I was going to give some name. Like
Kit Fisto.
Kit Fisto. I was going to say Kit Fisto.
Yes, he's
yeah.
my favourite Jedi.
Yeah, of course.
He's the same shade of green as me currently.
Faz's arm keeps.
Doesn't Kit
falling on me.
Fisto have kind of like dreads as well?
Yeah, he's got nice tentacles.
He does, yeah.
Okay.
Is he the one
He's
that
cool.
gets murked by the Emperor?
Yeah. He's one of several
Yeah, he gets
in the
done.
massacre.
Well, this is not a Star Wars podcast,
No.
and it's a spooky Halloween episode.
Tom, you haven't said what you're dressed as.
I'm dressed as Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
Yeah, not very spooky.
You've
It's
got a
just
very
what I had.
mutant head because your hair is like pushing the costume out the top. It
Yeah.
looks like you've got like big brain going on.
The thing is, I have quite a large head anyway, and even when I had really short hair, it was quite hard for me to zip this up. And with my hair as long as it is now, it's not worth even trying.
It looks good.
Thanks, mate.
Looks like 70s bush under there.
It looks spooky.
It does look spooky, actually. Very spooky.
Or is it more special than it is spooky?
I'd say probably more special. But it's bordering on special.
So we've all got Halloween and spooky related news stories with us today.
No, not news stories.
Not
all
news
of us
stories.
Oh yeah, and I've
So-
got to give 2 shout outs as well, by the way, while we're talking Halloween set dressings. The pumpkins around were carved by my girlfriend, and one is by me. If you can see him on the shot, you can probably guess which one was mine.
What's the prize for guessing? You can have the pumpkin.
You can have the pumpkin. It's full of mould. It'll be really good by the time you get it. And the tea lights. Big up Nell. Big up Nell from the folk club, Sowloft Folk Club. Big ups.
Big ups.
Did save the...
Save the day, yeah. Because it's really important that we had that.
Anyway, before we get into the spookiness, as always, a fact check from last episode. So I'm going to take my mask off for this.
Oh.
We spoke about quite a few things last episode, and we said we would
Jesus.
check. We said a couple times, we'll check that for next episode. A lot of the things we spoke about were pretty boring, and I didn't even bother checking them because it just wasn't good content at all. But the one thing that we did mention last episode, it was when we was talking about Frosties, and I think Robbie started singing, "They're gonna taste great,
Yeah.
they're gonna taste great," and then we started speaking about the kid from the Frosties advert.
Yeah.
And we said, like, didn't that kid kill himself? Because that was the rumour that I think most people, probably like our age or older, who saw that TV advert in probably like I don't even know when it came out, like early 2000s.
Early 2000s, I guess. Right?
Yeah. And for anyone who doesn't know, who hasn't seen it, it's just a stupid advert, just a Frosties advert, and this kid's just singing a song about Frosties.
Yeah.
And then the rumour was that kid got bullied so badly at school that he killed himself. And one of the ways that he was rumoured to have killed himself was by sticking pencils up his nose and slamming his face on a desk at school.
That's a classic school rumour as well, that you can die that way.
Everyone knows it's the most efficient way of killing yourself.
And then there was also rumours that that kid had cancer, and he got the role in the advert because he loved Frosties so much that he wanted to be in an advert.
Rumour.
And
it's his last wish.
So we said, like, we'll check for next episode and just find out whether he's dead or not.
Yeah.
Any guesses whether he's dead or
He's
not?
not.
No, he's
I'm
not.
saying no.
Oh, I feel like I've looked it up and he kind of is. That'd be kind of
Kind of is dead.
Kind of. I mean,
He's 50% dead.
He's brain dead.
He's dead inside.
I'm going to say no.
No, he's alive and kicking.
He's alive
I
and
reckon.
kicking.
Cool.
it's a general consensus. I'm going to go with yes.
Or
He's dead.
are you going to
just
tell me that he never existed?
Whoa, deep.
Yeah.
So I looked it up. He is not dead.
Yay.
And he's actually doing pretty well. His name is Sven Rygok.
Ooh.
He's actually Rygrok. Actually, I'll correct myself. Sven Rygrok, and he is from South Africa. He now is an actor, and essentially, when he was like 14 or so, he auditioned for that advert and
You got it.
got it. Yeah,
Going to taste great.
yeah.
Going to taste great.
So that's what I found out. I kind of wanted.
Has he been in anything else that we'd know?
So I had a few questions that I was trying to Google and try and find out. Like, I wanted to know how, like, was he actually bullied? Like, for one thing, and like he just didn't kill himself, but he was quite badly bullied. I wanted to know like what it was like just being this kid that everybody knew and it was like a big meme, like back in the day, and sort of how that's affected him and stuff like that. So I reached out to him.
Yeah.
And I got a response. And Sven Rygrok was very happy to sit down and have a chat with me.
Unbelievable.
Stop it,
Legend.
Tom.
No way.
So
This is the first successful.
there we go. First successful reach out.
There's been a lot of foul ones.
No, actually, I again reached out to that sneeze man
That's true.
who was counting his
Mitchell,
sneeze.
do you need to catch up?
Yeah, that
I'm
was
gonna-
compelling listening.
Fuck
the
him.
sneeze.
I'm going to speak to Donald Trump for this episode.
Oh,
So,
Actually, I'm not.
yeah, this is where we're going to cut away. Here is my interview with Sven Rygrok. For anyone who's not interested and just want to skip to the spooky stuff, it's about 20 minutes long, so you can skip 20 minutes. But it's a good interview. So
I can't believe this quality of the podcast has shot through the roof.
I know. It's gone from being in Lawford's kitchen or something.
My living room, which is probably worse.
Here is my interview with Sven Rygrok.
Hey, Sven.
How's it, Tom?
Hey, how you doing? You okay?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm very good. Thanks for joining.
Pleasure. Magical, man. Thanks for reaching out.
Yeah, no problem.
Tell me a little bit more about the Curious cast.
We just find weird stories that we've found online, or like usually they can be pretty disgusting sometimes, and we're just a group of three guys that sit and joke about it, and that's it really. And
Nice.
yeah, I'm glad to find out you're not dead. That was good news.
Yay. Yeah.
Especially in the way that they said that you died was quite an awful one, that you slammed your head into the desk with pencils up your nose.
Yeah. Oh, there were some good ones, man.
Yeah,
That was probably one of my best.
that was the most creative. How was that for you as a child? I imagine, from what I read, the bullying side of things was not as extreme as it was made out to be, but it was more just the rumours and misinformation out there.
For sure. I mean, off the bat, I must say that I'm incredibly grateful for what it was. The reason being is that part of my, I wouldn't use the word career, but part of something that I'm passionate about is motivational talks for kids, particularly on the subject of bullying and cyberbullying specifically, particularly within the realm in which we find ourselves now currently, and the online space. So that was a complete experience that I had. That was a wonderful draw card which I share with people now on stage and talk to young kids and mentor through. In terms of, again, was I hugely affected by it? Not really. If I'm completely honest, not really. The thing that still remains very vivid as a picture in my mind was the agony of my parents. So I would never wish this on anyone, even my worst enemy, because I mean, people who are parents will know that this is, I mean, it's not fun to hear things of, being said about your child, which you have no control over. And I mean, once those rumors started snowballing, they snowballed and they avalanched quite quickly. And I think that was the first sign of like, wow, this is far beyond your control. And I think that was quite, scary.
Yeah, I can imagine. For yourself, of course, you was very young. You was a teenager, so you might have been more interested in other things. But it is one of those things that could have really affected you if you were susceptible to it. And I can imagine, like you said, hearing those things happen about your child and having it's not like, again, because it was over a decade ago, it wasn't as easy to sort of like pat down those fires. You couldn't go out there and make online. You couldn't just tweet and say, "Hey, rumors are not true. I'm not dead," and then they're gone. Like it was just spreading like wildfire through all the playgrounds in the UK.
For sure. And I think that was something that was a great grace as well, was the fact that I wasn't there in the UK. I think it would have been a very different story if I was on those playgrounds, and seeing pictures of myself or seeing like the videos that I still to this day, I love them. Some of my best ones, like getting smashed by a train, like people were really creative.
Yeah.
But I think had I been there, it would have been a very different story.
Yeah, sure. So tell me about that. You was in the UK, of course, as a teenager at the time of filming, and then now you're in South Africa, right?
Yes. So not at all. It was shot and filmed here in South Africa.
Oh, okay.
I didn't have to go. I had nothing to do with the UK whatsoever, bar the fact that it was released there.
Oh, okay.
And it was for the UK market. Auditioned like every other teenager. I think I was about 14 at the time, so I just started high school this side. I've lived here my whole life. Didn't really care much for the acting scene at all. My passion was gymnastics. That was my love. That was the thing that I enjoyed the most. And by that stage, I was training about 6 hours a day, 6 days a week. So getting a commercial came all through gymnastics. Like they would often phone my coach, and be like, listen, do you have a young boy who could do a flick flack, who could do like a bit of a handstand, who could do da da da? And that's how I got into commercials. And through commercials, I got an agent. Through an agent, I ended up following a career in acting. But this was just another audition, where I had to, be a fairy and a ballerina and a dragon or whatever. And they were like, okay, cool. I got the role. I was in Johannesburg at the time, and they were shooting down in Cape Town. And we shot here in Cape Town for about 5 days, and it was glorious. I had the time of my life. We shot all over the place, from really cool beach scenes to in the vineyards in the Cape Winelands. And it was, I had a joy. I absolutely loved it.
That sounds great. One thing that a lot of people don't know, or it doesn't really occur to people at the first time of watching, because that's the magic of TV, but you didn't sing that song.
Not at all.
No.
Not at all.
Which is it's a good little get out for you, because it is a very annoying song.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite lines in that song, and it was one of the lines that I think made the song a little bit more annoying and more memorable, is when they at the beginning, where it says, "They're gonna taste great. I can hear the sound of Frosties hitting my plate." It's like, who eats Frosties from a plate? Like, you eat them from a bowl. And that was and that was one of those things. I imagine that's not something that, as a 14-year-old auditioning for that, you paid attention to the lyrics at all. It was just a case of learning them.
No, learn it and mime and do your dance and like get out of there.
Just get it done with.
Yeah, get it done with. Exactly.
Brilliant. So, of course, because it was an advertisement that was released in the UK, and it probably wasn't, it wasn't as popular in South Africa at all.
Yeah.
I had it in my head that you probably was, getting recognised in the street and stuff like that. Because I imagine if you was in the UK, you probably would have. People would have stopped and said, "That's the Frosties Kid." But I imagine that wasn't the case for you, no?
No, that wasn't the case at all. No one cared, and I think that was a great thing. I had a bunch of friends who, actually, I was in geography class once, and they had discovered that I was doing commercials, and they're like, show us. I was like, literally, guys, are you sure? They're like, show us. And so the thing, they're like, that's stupid. Let's go play outside. And like whatever, let's like move on. And I think that was such a great gift. And actually, I ended up, after school, I ended up moving to the UK for about a year. And I worked in some of the theatres in London. So I worked at the Apollo Theatre in Shaftesbury Avenue. And I remember a mate of mine was like, we were just chatting, and I was like, yeah, man, I was doing commercial. And he's like, man, yeah. And I was like, yeah, do you know the Frosties Kid? He's like, no way, bro. No way, bro. Like, no way. You got me. And he just like, he went completely like mental. But it was funny because like, no, I mean, no one would even know.
No one cared.
No one cared.
No. And so, I mean, that must have been a great experience when the reaction when you tell someone that you're the kid from the Frosties advert.
Yeah.
But how does that feel? Because everyone in the UK, probably over the age of 24, 25 at least, knows that advert. And if you was to even just show like a screenshot of that advert with your face, or play them a little bit of the song, everyone would go, oh my god, I remember this, or oh, I hate this song.
I hate this.
Or just like, can picture your face singing along to it. How does that feel to be such a big part of UK like pop culture and history? Or does it never really, it's not something that really enters your mind?
It's never really entered my mind at all.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Sorry to disappoint.
No, I mean, yeah, it's good to have an honest answer, but yeah, surely there must be a little bit of you that thinks, almost everyone in the country.
So that was the thing. I never knew how big it was. We only got hearsay or third-hand information, which was passed down. I remember, and I'll share this with you. I remember I was at a shopping mall with my dad, and we were busy having like lunch together when my agent at the time phoned to just give him the information as to like, listen, this thing has blown up. And I remember seeing his face, and he's like, okay, cool, yeah. And he's like, I didn't hear the conversation. I was just looking at his face. Yeah. So, okay, cool, yeah, blown up. Oh, and I'm like, who's that? He's like, your agent. I was like, mm-hmm. And then I just remember seeing his face drop when I'm sure the conversation turned like it blew up, and everyone hates it, And I think he got quite like a little bit panicked. And I think I remember that to this day, is A, like the blood draining from his face, and then B, the decision that they had to make as parents was, do we expose our child to this, or do we keep him in ignorant bliss? Like, what do we do? And I remember them coming into my room and actually asking me, like, Sven, listen, this is the situation. This is what has happened. What do you want to do? Do you want to see some of the comments? Do you want to know about it? And I was like, yeah, cool, like whatever, And like, I really have to give them great credit, but they sat next to me on either side. Maybe for about 10 minutes, they allowed me to just scroll through some of the stuff. And I was like, that's hectic. Like some of the stuff that people were saying. And again, I use this for a lot of my motivational talks, which is, from Instagram to TikTok to whatever you said, like once it's out there, it is out there for life, and you have no control over what that may do.
Yep. Now,
fair enough. Great background, awesome parents, but some people aren't as lucky. Some people aren't as fortunate, and that someone's word for, like, for example, like, oh, you piece of whatever, or you trash, or whatever it is, or like commenting on your body or whatever. That can stay with you and can damage you for life. I mean, I have great friends who are still damaged from the things people said, kindergarten, play school, like. And I think that's a great awareness. Is, are we really aware of what we're saying? And I take that with me to this day.
Yeah, that is brilliant. I couldn't have said it better myself. But yeah, so now tell me about the sort of workshops that you run and the talks that you do.
So I've been doing these workshops now for about 6 years. It started with a film that I was in. It was a local film called Spud, which I acted with John Cleese and a really cool pop star at the moment now called Troye Sivan. And it was a South African novel. It's a 4-part novel, which we just translated them into films. Basically about boys going through an all-boys boarding school and literally a coming-of-age story. And I play quite a bully in his name is Rambo, and he's a bit of a chop, bit of a mean guy. But basically, we had to take a picture for publicity, and it literally was just a T-shirt that said "Stop bullying" or something along the lines. And took the picture, cool, carried on doing our thing. And it just didn't sit well with me. I was like, what? Who are these people? What are we promoting? What are we not? So anyway, I ended up following up with these people. And there were a company called the JAG Foundation, which particularly focuses on recreational sports in underprivileged schools to try to keep kids at school so that they're not being used as drug mules here. And obviously the violence that happens, particularly within our country. So I just started, they were like, do you want to come and be an ambassador? And I was like, I don't know what that means. And I'm like, maybe just say something, like we'll go to some schools and you can just say whatever you want. And I was like, oh my word, like what am I going to say? At the same time, I was also a youth leader at my church, working in like quite a privileged area. And to be honest, the thing for me was like, it didn't matter whether I was working with the poorest of the poor or like your rich kids. There was just a common thread, which was kids today are unhappy and are completely lost. And from that, I was like, let me use what I have. I've had this experience of the Kellogg's Frosties, so I know a little bit about cyberbullying in the online space and what they can do potentially to people. I've had experiences of people who are close and kids who I've encountered who are committing suicide, attempted suicide, who have body image issues, who are completely body conscious with the Instagram world and are like anxious on our ADH, triple HD, antidepressant, anti-anxiety, you name it. And there's just someone, and I don't know if I'm the right one, but someone needs to tell these people why they are living and what's the point. Like, what is the purpose of your life? And to remind them that you are not your anxiety or your sexual identity, that you are far more than that. Like you are made like incredibly and you are made to have a great life. So how do you live that? And giving people the tools. They don't really have the tools. I've been very fortunate, like I said, to have some tools, and I'd like to pass that on. So that's how it started. And now I do talks that range from bullying and cyberbullying to racism and pornography, particularly looking at boys, to be men, to actually rise up to the occasion and be like, right, listen, we got to do something. And it's about taking on responsibility. And how can we do that? That's one of my passions.
That's amazing, man. Kudos to you for doing that. Not only do you do those, but you, like you said, you're an actor now, and you've managed to work with some pretty big stars. You mentioned John Cleese. I think I saw a photo with Orlando Bloom. Yeah. So how's that going?
Good. Well, I mean, I've been doing it for 10 years now. I love it. It's an up and down industry, as I'm sure most actors will know. And for me, it's about finding meaning and value outside of work. I think it's very easy for me to kind of jump in and get stuck in and say like, I am, and then put your label on it, actor, whatever. And I think having a family, being married, like your priorities now are just so different. So yes, I am an actor and I love these things, but I also have to do dishes. I also have to like clean nappies and carry on with normal day routine and be extraordinary in the ordinary. And yeah, so acting's going well. I love it. I would hopefully love to continue doing it way into my latter years, because people need stories, man. I need stories. I don't know about you, but yeah. I remember going to like the cinema or like watching TV programs and just going like, I want to be like that. Oh, I want to be like that guy. Like, yeah, and they stories really can remind you of who you want to be. So I just like to do good work. I'd like great scripts, working with great people who love the craft, and if I can do that, man, I'm happy.
Brilliant. Yeah, no, that's great. I completely agree. I read as well in your previous interview with Vice, they asked if you still eat Frosties, and you said you never really did. It just wasn't your thing.
Yeah.
What is your cereal of choice?
Gosh, I don't even eat cereal.
What do you have for breakfast?
See, I have like a smoothie. I'm
Okay.
a smoothie sandwich, like oats with banana and peanut butter and cacao, and blend that, and I'm good. So like oats probably, but if I really had to choose, I was a huge fan of like I'm trying to remember what they were called, like Cocoa Pops.
Yeah.
You know, called Cocoa Pops, but they're like the round. I think now we have them. They're called like Nestle.
Yeah, I think they're like.
You know what I mean? They're like a little bowl shape.
Yeah,
thing.
like Nesquik type
Kind of thing.
little balls. Yeah, I can't remember what they're
Yeah.
called. But
Yeah.
okay, brilliant.
That would be like yeah.
Oh, amazing. Okay. All right. Well, thank you for joining us on the Curios cast. I do really appreciate it. Is there anything else that you'd like to tell the listeners that we didn't cover? Anything you'd like to get out there, other than the fact you're not dead?
Other than the fact that I'm not dead, I'm alive and well. What would I like to tell people? I'd like to tell people who are potentially struggling with anxiety or depression or body image issues that, man, like there's no nice way to say this, but you got a long road ahead of you. But stick it out, because life is really worth living, and it's worth living a great life. And to remind people of that there's hope. There's always hope.
Amazing. Thank you, mate.
Lekker, man.
Okay.
Lekker, Tom.
Thank you for joining us, Sven. I really appreciate it,
pleasure.
and I hope you keep doing well.
Thank you. You too, and good luck to the rest of the team.
Okay. Have a nice day, man.
Lekker, Tom. You too, man. Keep
Okay,
well.
Thank you. See ya.
Ciao.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
And we're back in the room.
Tom,
That was
unbelievable.
That was-
Unbelievable. You've just elevated the Curios cast
Yeah.
from shit to true journalistic integrity.
That was
That's a
brilliant.
big jump. We skipped
Yeah.
a couple steps
Yeah,
there.
I almost feel bad that, like, if he listens to the rest of the content,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that what a fucking nice dude.
What was his name? Sorry, the first name?
Sven.
Sven, if you do listen to this, we appreciate you taking the time to
Yeah.
speak to Tom.
He seemed pretty keen to like ask about the podcast.
Yeah.
And I felt quite bad, but like he seems like such a Sven. If you are watching, you seem like such a nice, genuine guy.
Yeah.
Like he's a big part of like in his church community, and he's doing all these talks for kids and stuff. And then here we are, just like.
But you
being
know
the most
what?
ridiculous-
Even though this podcast is a bit of fun, a bit irreverent, whatever that word is,
Good word.
we can still use it as a platform for a little bit of good. So, you know, it's good that you've been able to talk to Sven about some of the issues that
Yeah, that was
obviously
actually sick.
he's faced.
Big
And-
up Sven.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
In all
was-
seriousness,
Yeah, that was really unexpectedly wholesome.
Yeah.
Like, that was
Yeah.
really lovely. What a lovely man.
Tom's been saying for the past week or a week and a half or something, not to log into our Gmail account, to not check it, because he's got some good follow up, some good news. So, but if I would never have been able to guess that was
No,
what
me
you were
neither.
doing, yeah.
No, that's sick.
Well,
Yeah.
how would you have guessed?
The whole time though that Faz is saying something there, I'm just laughing because your creepy little hand is coming out.
Yeah.
I can't get my other one out because we've rigged the mic through my armhole.
Yeah. I've been so excited to like reveal it for the last week or so, like the
Yeah.
interview that I've done.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, thank you,
Yeah,
Sven.
thank
for
you very much.
Thank
agreeing
you, Sven.
to be part of the Curios cast.
Yeah, big up. That's actually sick.
Yeah.
I feel like we're not good enough for Sven.
No,
I
that's
feel
what
like,
I
you know,
feel
when
like. Yeah.
you know when you have that relationship where you know you're punching. I
Yeah.
feel like we're punching with
Yeah,
Sven. I feel
definitely.
like we need to do better.
We could have a segment, Ask Sven. You know, going forward.
I have to call him every month.
And you just call and just ask him about something. Good. But no, that's amazing work. That's the best follow-up we've ever had and ever will have, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it really is.
We've
I need to
peaked.
turn this
Better
fucking
than-
smoke machine off.
Better than courgettes, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, one of the other things I was going to fact check was where the word zucchini came from, and
Yeah.
once I pulled that out of the bag, I was like, nah, I'm not interested in zucchini anymore.
Can you stop laying your hand on my knee, please?
I'm sorry, it's really uncomfortable. I might just retract it.
Like a little tortoise going
Sorry,
on.
that's horrible.
Well, yeah, big ups.
Great stuff.
Yeah.
That's the follow-up. Well, that's the follow-up of all follow-ups. We can't fucking...
So that is the wholesome part of the podcast over and done with, and we return to our normal format of disgusting news Well, actually, not. Probably maybe not.
Actually, no. Yeah, I'm on the spooky vibe.
Spooky.
I think I should go first. I think I've got a fair amount of battery, but just in case, because as surprisingly, I wasn't completely prepared and forgot to charge my iPad. Other tablets are available, but they're all shit.
Oh my god.
It's true, though, isn't it?
Rob, we can't afford a lawyer.
Tom can get one on Zoom.
Right, so I only really got one story, and then I've got some real life things to talk about, some anecdotal, ghouly stories.
Do you know what we should do? Because I've got a couple of anecdotal stories. We should maybe have a little segment about, we'll just discuss our own stories.
Yeah, well, I'll do this one first, and then when I go on to the anecdotal ones, we can back and forth. So mine is like a thing that I found on Reddit, and actually it sounds weird. I actually read it like 6 years ago, I guess, because it was all 6 years ago, and I looked up and I was like, oh yeah. So I mean, it was a good few years ago that I read it, and I just sort of remembered about it. I'm not sure quite. It's pretty long, the entire thing, so I'm not going to read the entire thing. I'm kind of going to give you like the opening for it, and then I'm going to give you like some of the highlights. That's the point. We should have we meant to turn the lights up in that cut, weren't we?
Oh, yeah.
Let me do that.
We'll get the lights out.
Oh, no.
Are we going to do another cut?
No,
We're still talking.
Obi-Wan, do you use the Force to turn the lights
going
up?
off, please.
Oh, yeah, you'd think.
I should have used the Force. No. Someone say something.
Hello.
That's a lot.
Yeah,
brighter.
so for everybody watching, I know it's been a little bit smoky and dim, but we're getting the lighting sorted.
Yeah.
And for those listening,
Smoky, yeah.
now it's just smoky. Yeah, it's bright. Now you can see the smoke even better.
It's good, isn't it?
With all the light that's there.
I can see nothing. I can see a vague,
I think all the smoke is
dreaded
just in your
Obi-Wan.
costume now.
Yeah. Like
Right.
yeah.
So, the title of this is. Some of you, I'm surprised if none of you have heard of this, especially you Reddit lovers, Faz and Tom.
There's a good chance I have.
Yeah, potentially.
My dead girlfriend keeps messaging me on Facebook. I've got the screenshots. I don't know what to do.
I have also read this.
Have you heard this?
I think same as you. I remember reading it a really long time ago.
Yeah.
And
So-
I don't remember the details.
See, I'm a recent Redditor, so I as in within the last 2 years.
I got a
so
thing
I
pop up on
don't
Reddit
think
the other day. I'd had it
There
for
you
10 years.
Wow.
My Reddit account,
Oh.
yeah.
Fucking
And that was
big boy.
I know.
Mr. Reddit.
I was 14 years old in that fucking shithole.
Should be.
Mate,
Yeah.
that is
It's
not
no wonder
a
you've
good way
turned
to go. Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's all explained now. Why you are how
Yeah.
you are.
I got off lightly.
Yeah, you did. Fucking hell, yeah. All right. Big up Reddit. Right. So, I'll just read the sort of opening bit and then I'll summarise.
I keep getting distracted because the front of Faz's costume keeps like twitching. Like the eye hole keeps moving.
Sorry, I was pressing it from inside.
It is weird hearing Faz very well in my
But then
headphones
not
and just
seeing
seeing this fucking, yeah. All right. So tonight's kind of a catalyst for this post. I just received another message and it's worse than any of the others. My girlfriend died on the 7th of August 2012. So
Sorry to
this
hear that.
was, when was this? 2014, I guess, yeah. She was involved in a 3-car collision driving home from work when someone ran a red light. She passed away within minutes on the scene. We had been dating for 5 years at that point. She wasn't big on the idea of marriage. It felt archaic, she said, gave her a weird vibe. But if she had been, I would have married her within 3 months of our relationship. She was vibrant, the kind of girl that would choose dare every time. She was happiest when camping, but a total technophile too. She always smelled like cinnamon. That being said, she wasn't perfect. She always said something along the lines of, if I cark it first, don't just say good things about me. I've never liked that. If you don't pay me out, you're doing me a disservice. I've got so many flaws and that's part of me. So this is for M. The music she said she liked and the music she actually liked were very different. Her idea of attention was a side hug. She had really long toes like a chimpanzee. I know that's tangential, but I don't feel right discussing her without you having an idea of what she was like. On to the meat. Em had been dead for approaching 13 months when she first messaged me. Right, and then there's like a first message and he posts screenshots of all of these things. And this is when it first began. I left Emily's Facebook account activated so I could send her the occasional message, post on the wall, go for her albums. It felt too final. And then basically, yeah, like her account has messaged him just like a couple of weird like words. And obviously it fucking freaks him out. But at this point, he thinks her mum's still signed in. So he's like, well, that's weird, but maybe it was her, you know, by accident.
Accidentally doing it or something, yeah.
On that, I had a very similar thing happen to me after my gran died. Her Instagram liked 4 or 5 of my photos, and I freaked out. I was like,
What the fuck?
What the fuck is this? But it was because my aunt she was around the house, like cleaning up, getting ready to get stuff out of the house, and was on her iPad just scrolling through her Instagram, and obviously forgot that she was signed in as my gran. And liked a few photos, but
Yeah.
man, I was shitting my pants.
Yeah, I bet that fucked you up.
Oh, see, that's so weird you say that. I had something similar. I had a friend pass away during college, and about a year and a half later, I got a Twitter notification saying that she tweeted. She hadn't tweeted in a while, and I was like, "Oh my god, what the hell?" Went onto Twitter, and it just turned out to be some bot account that had got into her Twitter profile, and it was one of those "Oh, I had 1 follower and 2 lost followers today," or something like that. But it freaked me out.
I wonder how many times that happened.
Yeah, my dad had one where
At least 3 times then.
someone he went to school with died. My dad's like 50 now, and so I guess people die. But he died, and then a couple of days later, his friend's Facebook account requested a life on Candy Crush to my dad. It was so bleak. He was like, my dad was like, "Oh, I could give him a life, but he's dead." It was really really fucking bleak. He done it. He was like, "Yeah, I'll send him a life."
Yeah. Fuck, that's weird. But this is deeper than that, right? So it's
Yeah. Really? That was as deep as I could go.
No, I mean, as in what the actual content she got. It clearly wasn't a hack or whatever. Well, obviously people, not a hack, like a bot or something. People start posing that idea. Anyway, there's loads of theories, but this weird message you first got was like, "But you're not a plaque on the wall. This gives me more closure even. Fuck queer nerds." These are all separate sort of lines. "I'm still finding your hair ties everywhere." Oh no, shit. Sorry. This is all shit he's wrote. Excuse that. It starts from here, September 2000. She just messaged hello, and he's replied, "Who is this? It's really weird receiving messages from Emily's account." And he's like, question mark, question mark. "Well, in the future, please send me messages from your account, even if you want to discuss her page." And someone's replied, "Hello." And he's like, "Susan, you're on Emily's account." That's obviously her mum. But this goes on, and and then it ends up getting really weird shit where just random odd stuff. It gets more than hello, "Let's hit up something." It's like recycling old messages that they chatted on, and the wheels on the bus. And he's like, "Wheels on the bus comments from we're discussing songs to play on a road trip that never eventuated." And then hello happened a million times. Kept just saying loads of times which says hello. And then after a little while, Emily started tagging herself in my photos. I'd get notifications for them, but a tag would generally always be removed by the time I got to it. The first time I actually caught one, it felt like someone had punched me in the gut. She, he's putting quotation marks, would tag herself in spaces where it's plausible for her to be, or where she would usually hang out.
It's weird, isn't it?
I've got screenshots of 2 from April and June. These are the only ones I've caught at the timeline. The pictures are just basically him, and then there's a blank space.
Yeah.
Sitting on his bed or whatever, and then there's the tag is there.
Yeah.
So he goes on about, I stopped being out of sleep. I was too angry to sleep. And at first he's like, "Someone's fucking with me,"
Yeah.
And he says "Some of you are wondering why I didn't just kill my Facebook profile, just to get the fuck away from me." And he's like, "Sometimes I wish I had." But he's like, "On days when I can't get out there, though, it's nice having friends to chat. It's nice visiting her page, when the little green circle isn't next to her name. I was already socially reclusive when Emma's alive."
So it comes up as being
online.
Yeah.
Her death turned me into something pretty close to a hermit, and Facebook and MMOs were/are my only real social outlets. And then he's messaged, what he assumes is a hacker, "Why are you doing this? Why do you keep tagging her?" It wasn't until I was going over these logs a few months later that I noticed she was recycling my own words as well. And he's providing some bait to try and get him to chat, and, trying to get more information from him. And apparently he had changed, so he had access to the password and everything, and he had changed the password in security loads and loads of times to try and block out any potential hack or whatever. And again, there's a weird one from her. Another one is just a load of, he calls it word salad, just a load of recycled stuff from previous messages. And he's like, "Facebook had told me the locations her page had been accessed from, but since her death, they're all places I can account for: my home, my work, her mum's house, etc." She's put something, asked Nathan was an in-joke, too lame, we're explaining, but seeing her say it again was an absolute fucking crippled me. So his account said some fucking in-joke that they had. My reaction,
Yeah.
her last few messages started to scare me, but I wouldn't admit it at this point. last few messages were like, please stop. I don't know what's happening. Nathan, I don't know what's happening.
Oh my
I was like,
god.
"Oh, that is
Absolutely horrible.
that is fucking rank, isn't it?" And then before that, she said, "I don't know." I said, "Yo, just ask Nathan," and he's like,
So he's fairly confident that it's not someone logged into the somehow still having access to the account.
Well, he started off that way, and then he gets less and less confident of that. So there's these are these weird ones, right? My jumper's in the dryer, and it's really cold out. Really cold out. Cold. Nathan, please stop. And then like these are all separate, like cold, freezing in capital letters. I don't know what's happening. And he said freezing is the first original word she's made. This has given me nightmares that have only started to kick in recently. I keep dreaming that she's in an ice cold car, frozen blue and grey, and I'm standing outside in the warmth screaming at her to open the door. She doesn't realise I'm there. Sometimes her legs are outside of me.
It's fucked up, isn't it?
Yeah, this is fucking grim.
Yeah, it's really grim, isn't it?
So is there any like end to this? Does he reply
No,
to any comments? With, like, further info,
yeah, like I
or-
read through, there's fucking tons of it, and like there's all these people getting deep on the theories, and there's one by the other guy that sort of comments, and other people are like, that's him, he's fucking comment on his own thing, he's a user, like his username's this and that, and he's acts fucked up there, and then like someone like retags a different picture. Oh yeah, at one point he sends this fucking picture after he memorialises her page, and then
So you would have thought if a page has been memorialised, then they doesn't it do something with the logins or something like that, or can someone still log into that
I
account?
don't know.
I don't know,
Yeah.
I can't remember what he said, but basically he heard this noise as he was compiling the post. He says, look, and then he goes on this, he sees this picture then, and it's a picture of like outside his room,
Oh, that's
Oh.
weird.
like
Stop it.
where he is sat on his computer.
What, like a
Stop
new
it.
photo was uploaded?
So it got
That's my
sent
daughter,
to him,
yeah.
like message to him.
He said, that's my door, that's my computer, it's taken him outside. I got a message 3 hours ago, but didn't check it until now. I'm on my tablet in my garage, zen for now. Going to drive to a friend's, forgot to open the garage door in my panic, so building up the nerve to get out to do that now. And then he doesn't really talk anymore after that.
Oh.
So it's all sort of gone quiet.
Yeah, and then like, loads of people are chatting, loads of people having theories, so...
Spooky though, isn't it?
And then, yeah, the rest is really just comments and people coming up with theories, and
Oh, see, I can't deal with that. I need to have
I know.
like a definitive
Well,
conclusion.
well, loads of people are like, dude, you need to speak to a psychologist. It could be you.
Oh, that's what
Yeah.
that's my
Yeah,
It
theory.
could be
Maybe-
you commenting to
Yeah.
yourself, and you don't
Yeah.
even fucking dissociative state.
Yeah.
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 Well, grief can really wreck you.
Well, that's what it's a funny place, Reddit, isn't it? Like so many times,
Yeah.
there's so many people being like really nice to each
Yeah.
other, as well as like
Yeah.
the horrible. There's loads of like really supportive, like, dude,
Yeah.
I've done this. I've had this problems. You should fucking, you should try
Yeah.
this. And people chat to each other in the comments in a similar sort of vein.
I don't know if you've
Hope
if
you feel
you've
better,
seen-
man. Really sorry for the, all this.
I don't know if you've seen. It's quite an infamous post now. Tom, you might have seen it. George, probably not.
I think I know what you're going to say.
Yeah, the carbon monoxide poisoning. Yeah, so there was this girl, like a few years ago, or guy, I don't
It was
know.
a guy.
I read it as a girl.
Because
maybe-
he had a
alright.
girlfriend, I think.
Could have been.
So
a
it
lady.
could have been a girl,
Could
but
have been a lady.
statistically, I think it's a guy. Especially
We're
because it's on
gonna lose-
Reddit as
we're
well.
gonna lose more listeners.
I don't really know where to look when you're talking. Yeah.
Just look in my armhole.
Just looking at Mike's eye.
Yeah, and they posted saying that they think their landlord is like fucking with them, because they keep finding weird post-it notes around their flat. They said they live alone. Nobody apart from the landlord has a key or has access to the building, let alone to their actual
I think
flat.
I have vague
And
memories of this.
they were finding like really really weird notes, like post-it notes, like on the back of their laptop, or saying like, oh, don't forget to set your alarm for work tomorrow, and just weird stuff. And it, in the end, it ended up being another Reddit user that was like, have you checked your flat recently for your levels of like carbon monoxide? Because they were saying how carbon monoxide poisoning can make you go a little bit mental.
Yeah.
And they did. They bought this reader, and their flat was absolutely riddled with all of this gas, and it was them that had done it.
Yeah,
really?
they started.
Yeah.
They started off.
Sorry for that noise, by the way. Listen, it
Was
was the,
ventilating the smoke. Yeah.
He was
Yeah.
ghoul.
It started off that it would just be when he was leaving his apartment. It was on like the outside of the door.
Yeah. Oh
And,
yeah.
like,
yeah.
on the not the inside of the flat, on the outside. Of
Yeah,
the
the outside
Yeah,
of the
like
flat,
on the front
the
door.
knock side, and and so he thought maybe a neighbour or like a landlord or something was putting notes on the door, but it was always these really weird,
Yeah.
half constructed sentences, and then he was like, oh, that's weird, but it would never be on any of the other neighbours' doors or anything.
And then he bought a camera as well, didn't he?
Yeah,
He set up a camera, hid it in his flat, and it was connected to record direct to his laptop. And then he did an update, and he was like, "Yeah, I've checked the logs, but somebody's like physically deleted the file. Like the camera hasn't not recorded, but like the file just doesn't exist on my laptop or within the recycling bin. So someone's gone in there and removed
so
it.
it's all him. Like,
That's so
because
weird.
he was all like,
Crazy,
just
the fuck.
But yeah, because
Knowles.
it was escalating like bit by bit. And he was like, first of all, it was just post-its on the outside, and he goes, and then like they started being in my flat, and there was all really weird things that kind of related to my life, but were a bit odd. And then that was like the thing where he was like, I'm just going to record it, and maybe I'm sleepwalking. And he's like, maybe someone's coming in my flat and messing with me.
Yeah.
And but then like Faz said, the recordings would just be deleted, and he was just like fucking freaking out. Yeah. And like Faz said, it turns out it was just carbon monoxide poisoning was turning him insane. So he was like,
did he have like periods where he couldn't remember stuff?
Yeah, he had like these massive lapses in his memory.
He probably just thought he was sleeping or something.
Yeah. And like he was
It's like Fight Club.
effectively like trying to help himself. Yeah, like Fight Club.
I wonder what those videos would have showed. You know, what would he have been doing in those periods?
Yeah.
Obviously,
Probably
apart
just
from
him.
writing.
Just walking
I
around.
wonder if he would have looked normal, or whether he would have seemed like out of
I picture like Paranormal Activity where they're all like standing there and it's like sped up like 10 times speed, and they're just doing really weird, unnatural movements.
Yeah, that's mad though, isn't it?
It's
Crazy.
mad.
Like that Reddit user, what a shot in the dark. I mean, were they like an expert in carbon monoxide, or did they experienced it, or?
I can't remember. I think they were some sort of like contractor or a builder or something. I don't know. I might be wrong. Tom might remember a bit better than me.
He was the one who was pumping carbon monoxide into the flat.
Very freaky.
Yeah, my guess about that Facebook thing would be that probably not carbon monoxide. It could be, but just that he's so distraught from losing this like his girlfriend that he's going insane.
That seemed to be the most proposed theory. Other people like separately proposing it and not realising someone else had proposed it.
Oh, that's sad though, isn't it? That's really
It
sad.
is sad.
I was fully baited into that as well, regardless of my costume and lack of any senses apart from my hearing right now. I still would have been absolutely in stun.
I can give a very much more sceptical answer to it, or just leave it as the spooky.
It's just a life for karma.
No, go for it.
Because basically,
it's a ghost.
Nah, well, it kind of turns out that it was written on a Reddit post that is called like No Sleep Reddit.
So it's fake.
And it's sort of like and the idea of the post is like they don't have to be true, but you sort of widely accept that it's true.
Yeah.
So it's like
and it's almost like every it's like a creepypasta. And it's almost like everyone it's weird. It's like, are they all so bought into it that they all were also just like coming up with these theories and that and stuff like that because they forgot that the Reddit post they're on, or just that's part of the crack.
Yeah.
That they're all kind of getting involved.
Like a community, and
that's part of the fun of the
like role playing.
They're all communitively jibbing each other out.
Yeah.
Like but I think also like a load of outsiders ended up getting on it who wouldn't normally be on that thread because it got to the main page of Reddit, and that was normally like some huge.
Oh, yeah.
So then I think a load of people saw it who perhaps wouldn't have, and then maybe they all genuinely believed it. Whereas started out as loads of people like, well, we know this kind of probably isn't. This isn't necessarily true. It's meant to be creepy fiction. But
it's a shame.
It's a good one though, isn't it?
Quite often I look at our paranormal on Reddit.
I've looked at that for this a few times, and
there's some good ones in there. But again, you don't know whether someone's just making it up or it was a genuine experience, obviously unexplained potentially, maybe not ghosts, whatever.
Yeah.
But it's just quite interesting sometimes going through that. There's some good ones in there.
Well, talking of that, we can talk a little bit about true life, our real
Happenings.
Experiences. Mine didn't happen to me directly, but it's so when my sister was younger. My parents.
I think you've told me this.
Yeah,
one
I might have done. So my parents, my parents have lived the house that I grew up in like since all my life, and all my sister's life. So we were much younger there. But before they lived there, so they've lived there like, well, I don't know, at least 36 years, probably like 40 years. There was a bloke there who could basically like died in the house. Was like, he grew up. And, I think he died. Maybe not physically in the house, but that was the last place he lived. And everyone called him Jonesy, and like Mr. Jones, I assume was his name. and he was really fond of his garden down the end of the garden, and his flowers that he'd grow, and roses and stuff like that. And I think there was some the roses there that my mum had kept alive the whole time. They were sort of essentially from his rose patch, and they were just still always been in the garden. And my sister used to always pretend. She'd go down in the garden and she'd come back and she'd like make believe I played with this and that and met the fairies, whatever. And she came back in one day and said to my mum, I met Jonesy down in the garden today. And my mum was like, what? And she went, yeah. And he told me how much he liked the roses.
That's weird. And at that point, so your parents knew Jonesy before?
They knew of the name
him?
of this guy. I don't know whether they ever met him, but the neighbours would have known him and told my parents about
That's
him.
freaky, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yes. So it was when my sister said those words, my mum was like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah.
Yeah. That's weird, isn't it? There's no real.
Yeah. I mean, how would she have known? Unless it's pure coincidence. You know, like
or maybe
pure
she
coincidence.
I don't know, kids are quite receptive though, aren't
Yeah.
they? So maybe she heard people mentioning that name in passing and
Yeah.
just retained
Never
that.
really subconsciously retained it.
How old is she?
Or kids are more susceptible to paranormal.
Spirits, spooks and
How old is
ghouls
she?
and
Like
ghosts.
I couldn't tell you. 3 or 4 maybe.
Oh, pretty young then.
Yeah. That sort of age, like young.
Yeah.
It's more fun to believe.
Yeah,
Well, I got a similar.
I think it's a ghoul.
I got a similar one, right? Where my dad's dad died when they were younger, so none of us never knew him, and we had younger cousins who are just 18 now. So when I was much younger, when I heard this story, so they were like in the cot, kind of young.
Yeah.
And they certainly hadn't seen this yet, as far as I'm aware. But basically, they used to say, one of them, I think, used to say, "Granddad comes to visit us."
Mm.
They used to say, "Granddad comes to visit us." And I was like, okay. Assuming they're talking about the one that was alive, the other granddad. And eventually they say, "No, other granddad." No, right. And then they said stuff like, he tells us about the boats and tells us about things like that. And he used to be in the Navy. So everyone was a bit like, well, that's a bit weird. And then one day when he went round there to Mans, he went, "It's Granddad," and pointed straight at a picture of him.
It's mad, isn't it?
That's
Yeah.
weird.
It's got to be a ghost, surely. So I like those little family stories.
Yeah, there you go.
'Cause, I mean, what can you...
It's also possible, if I asked someone to tell me that story again, it might not be exactly as I've remembered it. Because in my head, I've both of those perhaps.
Embellished a little
Yeah.
bit, yeah.
I love them. I've got loads of them.
Oh, go on, give us a couple. And then we'll go into your stories, and then we can
do
segue.
it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've got a couple that have happened to me, and then there's a family one as well. So the most recent one involves my gran again. So she died 2 years ago. Yeah, 2 years ago. And on the night that she passed away in the morning, and then in the evening, Lynn and I were going around to my parents' house for dinner. We was just going to go around there and just build together. And as we left Stamford, you know, the funeral. There's a funeral home in Stamford-le-Hope, and the way that we drive out of Stamford-le-Hope passes the funeral home, which was the funeral home with the chapel of rest, so where my gran was.
Yeah.
And as we passed the funeral home, I've actually got a video of it, but unfortunately, I haven't got it downloaded. As we passed
But it can be on.
we could put it up.
We can put it on the YouTube video.
Exactly. So as we passed the chapel of rest and we was driving down the road, a leaf fell down onto the windscreen, the car windscreen, and upside down. The way it landed in the shape of the leaf, it landed, and with the light coming through from the street lamps, made a perfect heart. Like I'm talking about, like if you drew a heart, it was perfect, and it was on this. So it'd be on the dashboard. Obviously, as you're driving through, the light would go in and out. And then as soon as we left Stamford and turned away from where this chapel of rest was, it blew off and just flew back towards Stamford.
Very nice.
Which is weird.
That is weird, yeah.
That could be just total coincidence. I
Yeah.
like to think that it's something a bit more, but it's just like quite a strange little thing.
There you go.
But then linking on from that, so in the next few days, so over a week, my parents kept hearing these weird noises in the house. Their landing is very, you can just tell when someone's walking across the landing, and you get used to who's who, you know, when you can tell your dad's coming up the stairs or whoever. So they could hear these footsteps across the landing going into my sister's room, and there'd be no one up there, and they'd been saying about it for a few days. And one night I went round there and was all sitting in the living room, and I could just hear as though someone got up off of my sister's bed onto the, stood up and then shuffled out into the landing and then all the way across the landing into my other sister's room. You could just hear it. I was just sitting there and I thought someone was upstairs, but there was no one up there. It was just me, my mum, my dad, and one of my sisters in the house.
See, my friends used to say shit like that, and my instant reaction was this: surely it's just next door. Like, you quite often hear next door, but from upstairs.
Or maybe like a bird got in or something.
It's a semi-detached house, right? So growing up, you could hear next door, like the lady next door going up and down the stairs.
Yeah, and you get used to what that sounds like.
You get used to those sounds. And like I say, the landing there's certain planks of wood on the landing that I just know when someone stood on that plank of wood because it's just different. So it was definitely a noise upstairs. Because my dad used to work offshore and he just got back from working offshore. My mum had been hearing these noises, and she like sat up and said, "Look, can you hear that?" And we were sitting there, and at first he said, "Yeah, I don't know. It could be the next door or just a noise like the wood creaking or whatever." He thought maybe it was a bird up in the loft. Wasn't it? But we were sitting there, and then we heard the noise go back from my other sister's room, back across the landing, and back into my other sister's room, and then it went. And then they heard it for maybe about 4 or 5 days after that, and then it disappeared.
Fucking spooky. Talking of mysteries that go on in the family home.
Oh yeah, good talk about that. So just to lighten the mood quickly, there was another mystery. Yeah. So my family probably will not appreciate me talking about this on the podcast.
It's amazing.
So
we need some Reddit theories on this one.
Yeah.
And you should put this on Reddit actually.
Yeah, this is real life. This is not.
Yeah, this is completely
this is not
real.
spooky, nonsense or anything. This is
completely true.
This is a predicament currently going on in George's house.
So it was about a month, maybe month and a half ago. Do you reckon about 2 months, month and a half. One night I went round to my parents' house. We was just sitting down and just chilling out, watching TV or whatever, and then my mum turns around to me, about an hour into me being around there, and went, the other day, George, we found a poo on the side of the bath. What?
Oh, Faz, you haven't heard this?
Yeah, I love the Faz hasn't heard this.
Have you not heard this story?
I'm going in dry. What is this?
So she was like, there was a poo on the top of the bath, so not inside the bath, but on the top edge. I was like, what? What do you mean a poo? And she went, yeah, it was about this big, maybe 2 inches for people. A little poo.
A little
nugget. I was like, what are you talking about? And she went, yeah. So, in the morning, well, she said actually, sorry, that the poo had slid down the side of the bath, so there was a little trail. So she was like, right, what is this? So I asked her about it, and she then, when she found it, obviously was like, what the fuck? There's a little poo on the side of the bath. What is this? Spoke to so in the house it was my mum, my dad, and my 2 sisters, and then their 2 boyfriends were around as well. So she spoke to my sister and said, look, there's a poo on the side of the bath. What, do you know anything about it? And they said no. My sister Molly said no, nothing at all. She asked her boyfriend, who I think he was asleep at the time, or maybe just waking up, so he was a bit groggy, and he's naturally quite loud, he's quite exuberant. So she asked him, there was a poo on the side of the bath. Do you know anything about it? He's like, what? What are we talking about poo? And apparently, the window was open, and so half the street could probably hear this going on. And then my mum asked my other sister's boyfriend, do you know anything about it? He said, oh yeah, I saw that last night. I saw that last night on the top of the bath, so it had slid down in the night. And just left it. Didn't mention it. Didn't mention his poo to anyone in the house.
Disgusting.
I think he's the most likely suspect.
Yeah, he's got
to
be. Who would leave?
But why would he? But who puts it there? Did you do it by accident though?
I don't know, because
how volatile are you shitting to miss the toilet?
And the size of the poo.
But it must have been quite a solid nug to be able to be sat there.
Yeah.
So my dad has chimed in with his theories. It's definitely not the dog. They've got a small cockapoo.
That sounds like the dog.
She can't get up onto the bath. It's too high to get onto the bath, and she doesn't do poos, just a little nug.
They don't look like that.
So he reckons that it's some sort of bird has got in through the window and done a
Bird,
poo.
I love this
And then
theory. You
flown
said this
out.
earlier. There's
Yeah.
no way a bird
Yeah,
does a
but
poo
birds
like
have
that.
like liquid
No.
shit.
They do
don't
have
they?
liquid shits
And
because
what
their poo
colour
and
was
their
it as well?
They
birds
poo and
poo and
come
wee
together.
comes out in
It's like a
yeah.
grey sort of brown colour apparently. But my dad's convinced that it's a bird. Maybe it's him. I don't know. Maybe he's trying to cover his tracks.
Cover his shit
I thought your
tracks.
mum just came to you and asked you as well. Like,
Yeah. Like,
did you do a
George.
poo
Did you
on
do
the
a poo?
bath, George?
Sorry, Faz. What did you say?
I don't know if I know.
So yeah, this is the mystery going on in my parents' house at the moment. No one knows who's done or what's done this
Never
little
gonna
poo.
know.
Oh, what is excellent.
Like
I
my
like
dad
it.
reckons maybe it was a mouse or a rat or something.
He
That
should-
makes
he should-
more
He
sense.
He should have
more
kept
sense.
it for poo
I
analysis.
know this is
Send
why
it to
my mum is
Gillian
under
McKee.
suspicion.
I think they do
because-
this on Always Sunny. That
They do.
Someone
It's a whole
does a poo in
episode.
the
Who
bed.
done a
yeah.
poo in the bed?
because my mum got rid of it straight away. She like Jack the Ripper.
So your mum's under suspicion.
Yeah, they washed the graffiti away. She's covered it up. So
Yeah.
maybe it was her.
Good lord.
Yeah, so that's the mystery. Obviously, I'll update you if anything does change. I
love it.
highly doubt we'll ever
could
find
we,
out who
Could
the,
we get a Sven-esque follow-up, please?
I'll
Yeah.
I'll FaceTime my parents.
You need to do it like a witness interrogation with
Yeah.
every member of the household.
Yeah, like that fucking like. You see that thing with the dick drawings? You see that thing
Yeah.
on Netflix?
Oh,
Yeah,
American
yeah.
Vandal.
Yeah, you need to do like a
Did they
poo.
do a sequel?
do a
about poo? It was
serious-
about poo, wasn't it, or something?
Yeah, they did. They did. Or maybe
Yeah.
that was the first one.
No, the first season, someone draws dicks on all the cars.
Right. Yeah. The
in the car
sequel
park.
was
The sequel is
the laxatives.
They put laxatives in like
Yeah.
the school
Right,
dinner.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's that. That's all it is really. It's mystery poo.
Brilliant.
I mean, I think it's probably a mouse.
Yeah.
Because I used to have when I was younger.
But don't they do like tiny,
Yeah, mine's
tiny
do
poo?
tiny
it's-
little
maybe-
droppings.
Maybe it's a big mouse. I mean, they live in like a semi-rural sort of area. I remember growing
Constipated
up.
mouse.
Rat
They-
poo isn't grey either. I'm pretty sure rat poo is like black.
Isn't it like?
Yeah.
Does it go grey after a certain amount of time? Like dog shit. Like if it's left in a park for ages, it goes that whitey
Yeah,
colour,
but
right?
you've
I
got,
think-
you've got to
I
pass
just-
a lot of
I thought that was
time.
an ill dog. I didn't know it was poo that was
Oh
left
no,
there.
it's
It
very
goes all
old.
hairy.
Yeah.
I did
it's
a
like
white-
chocolate when the chocolate goes off and it goes all like.
Oxidizes.
Yeah.
I did a white poo when I was younger. When I was really, really young, I was ill. I don't know what was wrong with me, and I did a white poo.
So is that
I'll always remember that.
What,
yeah.
like pure white?
It was fucking white. Yeah, it was like
You
chalk.
sure it wasn't like a bit of chalk that you
No.
don't...
I
Is
did.
that why you
I
was
did
ill? 'Cause
also.
you
I
ate
did,
chalk?
yeah, no, I did also have multicoloured poo once when I ate paint.
What?
Legit,
Oh,
I ate a load of paint, and my poo came out multicoloured. But no,
That is absolutely not true.
no, 100% that's
I
true.
do not believe
I'm
you.
going to get my.
What colours?
I'll film my mum telling you that story.
All right.
Because you can believe it. I can't remember what colours, like the colour of paint. Like I ate a shitload of paint,
Paint
and my
doesn't
poo
just have
came
one
out.
colour.
I reckon you pulled that poo out of the toilet, gave it a little
Painted
liquor
it,
paint,
yeah.
popped it back
No,
in.
but the white poo, yeah, I don't remember what's wrong with me, but fucking chalky white.
Isn't it?
That is.
So I think when you
Mega.
see those dog
Yeah.
poos, I think it's an ill dog. I don't know whether it's gone white.
No,
I
I
think
thought
that's
it
one
was
of your
hairy, didn't it?
kinsmen.
That's
When
why
I was younger, when I was a lot younger, I remember it was
this
Christmas
fucking
Day.
thing looking at me.
Christmas Day, right? Went out in the garden, and this was before I'd really figured out about furry poos. And like,
Sorry.
you know when a dog poo goes furry,
No? What?
that's what you're just talking about, right? It goes either grey or it goes like furry. You
No,
ever seen
we
a
were
furry
talking
poo?
about it.
I
don't
think
know about
furry poos are
furry.
a fox's poo.
Yeah, so but
Ah.
they're not.
I know what you mean.
They
Yeah.
don't come out furry, but they turn furry.
I didn't know
Oh,
that.
I always thought
Yeah.
they came out furry.
Yeah, I've
No, but anyway, so
Oh.
I went out in the garden and I saw this like thing, and I was like, "What is that? I don't know what that is." So I touched it, so I like, grabbed it, and I was like, "Oh, it's poo." So, and then the rest of that Christmas Day, you know, when you can just, even though you've washed your
you
hands,
feel like,
don't feel
oh,
clean,
yeah.
feel it,
yeah.
and
Oh.
Yeah.
I feel like I can
It's
smell
like
it still.
it's like the
and-
blood on Lady Macbeth's hands.
So yeah, that was horrible. But yeah, so I think it's a mouse because we always used to have mice in the house when I was younger. I remember like one died under my floorboards one summer,
Oh.
and my dad was like, "Well, I'm not
Oh,
ripping up the
Jesus.
floorboards to get it, so we're just gonna have to wait for it to like rot." And
Stop-
so my
stop
Oh,
it was horrible.
Christ.
Yeah.
that
Horrible.
is awful.
But yeah, so
what choice by dad? Like that's such a dad choice,
But you
isn't
know
it?
what the thing
I'll
is?
fucking leave that.
one of my
We'll let-
floorboards did lift up, so I was like, "Well, that lifts up, so you might as well just like pull them all up." But I guess you don't know where it is, right?
I guess
You can sort of
pull the whole floor up before
Yeah,
you get to
And
it.
you only knew because you could smell it.
Yeah, and both my sisters, or all of our floors actually, I didn't have any carpet in there.
Yeah.
It was just like a wooden floor, but they had like holes in the wood. Like there was sometimes like a natural hole in the bit of wood.
Mm.
So my dad just got a load of gaffer tape and said I taped gaffer taped all the holes up to try and keep the smell out.
Well, apparently anything big enough that you can see a pencil through, a mouse can get in.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
Apparently.
skeletons go
Yeah.
real like squishy together.
Craziness.
like an
Yeah.
octopus.
And a lot of it's obviously fur.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But yeah, if anything
What a
does
world.
come of it,
Please
I'll let you
update us
know.
with your journalistic integrity, George.
Yeah.
Not taking mine away from me. I may have got a first in journalism, but all it takes is a man dressed in a Spider-Man outfit to take it away from me. I'll just tell you one last story.
Come on in.
So I'll probably remember more later on. But so this is the only time I've ever seen something which is like weird. What's that noise?
That's the GoPro. That's fine.
Sounds like the GoPro's stopping recording, doesn't it? Carry on.
So my uncle used to live in Harrogate in Yorkshire, and they lived in this big Victorian house. It's like a 3 or 4 story house.
Yep.
And when when we used to go and visit, we'd always stay up in this top room, like the old servant room or whatever. And one I can't remember whether it was summer or winter or whatever. It was in the garden. And I looked up and there was a lady I could see a lady up in the top room, so the room where we always used to stay, and she looked like she had a weird hat on. So it made her look like she's got like, her head was just like big around here.
Like Princess Leia.
Yeah, almost. Yeah, it was like a
Bums.
little cap or something.
Yeah.
Oh, we've noobed out, Tom.
Oh, has the GoPro gone off?
SD card full.
No.
Oh no.
I keep going. I can remedy that while we keep chatting.
Yeah. So anyway, so I saw this woman up in the top room, and I said to my uncle, I saw a lady up in the top room, and he was like, oh, "That's weird," because one of my cousins, who was quite young at the time, he was probably only about 4, maybe 6 or 4 or 5, something like that, old enough to sort of talk and don't really know babies and kids when they start talking properly. But he'd said to my uncle a few days before, or a week before, that he'd seen a lady up in the top room with dog ears.
Oh, dog ears.
Yeah, and they reckon it was the hat that made her look like she's got dog ears.
Yeah.
So that was weird. I definitely saw something up in that room.
Kids, didn't you?
Huh?
You hear it a lot with about kids.
Kids,
coming up
yeah.
with this weird shit, like saying this stuff. And is it like you say? Is it that they're more susceptible to it, just subconsciously hearing something, or is it
Yeah.
that they're more open to things that we close our minds to?
But no, it's weird though. I know what I saw, and there was definitely a woman up in that top window.
A dog woman.
Yeah, spooky.
That is spooky.
Yeah, it's just weird. And like the in their house, the middle landing, obviously before you go up to the very top floor.
Yeah.
I always hated being on that middle landing. Like I used to just run. Like bottom floor fine, and then any other floor's fine. But the middle land, not in the one with the room where I saw the woman.
The one below it.
I just hated it. It just felt like weird. The rest of the house was fine, but I just didn't like it. Just strange.
Trash.
Yeah, I remember when I was a kid, I was convinced my house was haunted. The house that I currently live in, I've lived in all my life, and I was just convinced that the corner of my bedroom where like the wardrobe was haunted.
Yeah.
I remember once I was old enough to be at the home on my own for like short amounts of time, like maybe when I was like, I don't know what, like 13, 14 or something. And like my parents would go out for like just to pick up my brother or something like that, and I'd be home alone, and I got a vivid memory of me like being at home like downstairs playing on the Nintendo Wii, and like being convinced I heard someone walk upstairs.
Yeah.
And then just kind of like being frozen, just standing in my living room, just not able to move.
Yeah.
And until someone got home, and I'd like let them go upstairs first or something.
Yeah.
And I remember being in bed and like really needing a piss as a kid when I was like 7 or 8, but I just didn't have it in me to like, get out of bed because I was convinced I was going to get eaten or something. And so I just held it in like till the morning or something.
It's good bladder training though.
Yeah, but I again, like, it's weird how you just kind of like grow out of it, I guess. Like now I'm in the house all the time, and I don't ever think that it's haunted, and I don't seem to hear it anymore either. I don't know if like when you're a kid, like now that you're an adult, like when you hear little sounds like that, you're just not bothered by it.
Well, I guess you can rationalise it, can't you?
Yeah, like you know that like you said, like wood just expands and makes noises and stuff like that. Like things do creak and there are noises, so you just kind of rationalise it and you're like cool with it.
Yeah.
But Yeah, or only kids can hear ghosts.
No,
Yeah.
see, I'm a huge skeptic, so I'm just kind of thinking like, well, kids sensationalise a lot of things, don't we? Like now, when
Yeah.
I get home and it's dark, I just think there's a murderer in my house. I don't think it's a
It's
ghost.
like a different type of fear.
Yeah, because you think that's more likely.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't think there are ghouls anymore. I think someone's broke in.
It's just Reese.
Yeah,
Same thing.
And then you realise, it is cool.
yeah, that's even scarier.
Like, it's weird. Like my sisters are convinced that my parents' house is haunted, but I mean, I never
Yes.
feel fine there.
Idiots.
Like my sister once, she was downstairs in the kitchen, and she says, I mean, everyone else was in bed, and I think I was at work actually, so I came back and I heard about it. So, she said that she heard someone knock on the window, of the kitchen window. So she was fucking shitting herself, thinking that there's someone out there.
Yeah.
So she like froze behind the fridge, which was like away from the window, and then in my parents' house there's a window by the front door, but that door window opens out onto a not the back garden, but like a side access behind a locked door. So she hid behind the fridge, and the window's like where you are now, and there was a knock on that window as well. Like, and then she obviously shit herself and ran upstairs. There was no one there. But if there was someone there and it was just a person, they would have had to have jumped over like a probably a 7-foot door
Yeah.
and like wall to get there quickly and then knock on the window. And she's convinced she heard it. Obviously, I can't like verify that, but pretty weird, right?
Yeah.
Pretty weird.
But I mean,
It's
they've got
weird.
a dog, and they always say like dogs pick up ghoulies and ghosts, and
Yeah.
she's not bothered
Dog
by
seems
anything.
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although she does poo on the bath. Yeah. But yeah.
You're going to talk
Right.
about. You got your stories
Yeah, I can jump straight into mine if you want.
as we're in the George vibe.
Yeah, sorry, mine are a bit more serious because I actually like talking about like ghost stories and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, you love it.
I just enjoy it. I could do
Yeah.
episode after episode just talking about like ghost stories, even if they're not true. I like the mystery surrounding it, you know.
Yeah, we've got a good mix of some serious.
Yeah, we'll go to
stories
Tom
and
next
some-
to
Yeah,
lighten
yeah,
the mood
yeah.
a little bit. Yeah.
So what I've done, I've taken a few classic stories from when I was younger. I used to.
Sorry,
no,
just every now and then I look over and I just see this.
Yeah,
I'm just-
I keep.
Might
If
be
I
then.
just
I
laugh
keep
at something that's
remembering.
not funny,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
because
It's
I've looked at Faz.
Yeah.
So when I was younger, I spent a lot of time in our local library, where my sisters would go to dance class, whatever, and my mum would just leave them in the library. And I always used to, after a while, figured out where all these ghost books were. And I used to love finding these ghost books and just shitting myself up reading about like these stories. Or
Right. Yeah.
And there was always a few that were in every single ghost book that I ever found. So I've picked a couple of those for you just to bring it up. I don't know whether they're true. A lot of them you could probably debunk quite easily now, but you know, back in the 70s, 80s, early 2000s, maybe not so. So the first one that I'm going to talk about is quite a famous one. You've probably heard of it. It's called the Enfield Poltergeist. Anyone heard of that?
No.
So you know The Conjuring 2.
Yes.
This is what that was sort of semi-based on.
Yeah. Okay. I know of this. Yeah.
Obviously, in that film, I think there was like a nun and shit in there, wasn't there? But I don't think any of that was actually from.
They just
the
added some
events.
quite a bit. Yeah.
So the Enfield Poltergeist is a claim of supernatural activity which happened between 1977 and 1979 in Enfield, North London. So, and it involved two sisters, 11 and 13. There was a few other kids in the house as well, but like the main sort of things that are spoken about are about these two girls. And essentially what it was, it started out as noises and bangs that the girls kept saying to their mum, we can hear things moving and, you know, bumps in the night. And they kept saying they couldn't sleep because their beds were being pulled or like the wardrobe would rattle. And eventually the mum saw the wardrobe like jump forward. She said that, you know, one night the girls woke her up and said, like, it's happening again, the wardrobe keeps moving. She went into the room and she could see this wardrobe rattle. So In August 1977, single parent Peggy Hodgson, she called police to a rented home in Enfield after claiming she'd witnessed furniture moving and that 2 of her 4 children had said that knocking sounds were heard on the walls. So they said it sounded like it was coming from both sides of the wall and also the ceiling as well. So the police came down. So the police did come round after a neighbour. So she'd also spoken to a neighbour who went in and heard these things and saw these bits of furniture move. So they were both like, what the fuck, like, what else do we do? Phone the police. Police came round and saw furniture moving. So the police constable made a statement. I've actually got the audio of this policewoman making a statement.
I want to hear that.
Which I will play for
and
you.
This is legit, like?
Yeah, it's legit. There was a documentary made by like Channel 4 about 10 years ago, I think, and it's got everything in it. There's some other audio that I can play to you as well. So I'll just quickly play the policewoman.
I might actually have nightmares tonight. I'm fucking scared.
It's not very long. It's only like sort of 20 seconds long. The audio quality might not be great, so apologies in advance if it's not great. But I can always sort of adjust that, and we can maybe find somewhere.
I can drop it actually in. Yeah, just play it so we can hear it.
Maybe a half inch, I should say. And I saw it slide off to the right, about 3.5 to 4 feet before it came to rest. I checked to see whether or not it could possibly have slid along the floor. I placed a marble on the floor to see whether or not the marble would go in the same direction as the chair did, and it didn't roll at all. I checked for wires under the cushion of the chair, and I could find no explanation at all.
So she's made a statement on camera.
It seemed like something out of Garth Marini's Dark Place.
It's weird, isn't it? Like, it always, when you look back at old stuff like that from the 70s, it just seems weird now to me, I think.
I mean, probably the
yeah
creepy music underneath helps.
Yeah.
But.
So she made a statement to say that she did witness this chair be thrown across the room with no sort of apparent cause. So
she wrote that in an official police statement.
Yeah. So and she that was I think it was a BBC interview or Channel 4 interview as well. So she said it, and then so it continued, and then over a period of 18 months, it just carried on. They got the particular newspaper involved to document it as well. So more than 30 people, including neighbours, psychic researchers and journalists, have reported seeing heavy furniture moving of its own accord, objects being thrown across a room, and also report that the daughters seemed to levitate slightly off of the ground on occasion as well. Many also heard and recorded knocking noises and also a gruff voice. So the gruff voice is reportedly, so after a while, a psychic researcher called Maurice Grosse went in. So he's from this Society for Psychical Research, which back in the 70s, I think it still exists now, but they existed to debunk reported hauntings. Okay. So did we speak about Borley Rectory on a long time ago on one of the podcasts?
I'm not sure. I
remember.
And I think I said that there was a lodger there, and they was having an affair, and like she'd faked some of the activity to cover up the fact that she was having an affair.
Oh, right, okay.
So this Society for Psychical Research debunked some of the stuff from there, so they just made it their sort of mission to go around and just debunk it. So 2 of these researchers went to the house, and they stayed there for, I think, quite a long time, probably about like 12 months, just documenting what's going on. So they reported whistling and barking noises coming from one of the girls in the house. I think it was the older girl, and she started to like make weird noises and not really know she was doing it, and her like behaviour started to change and stuff. So both of them have said that they said that the haunting was genuine. Their report was that it was unexplained. There was no like foul play, with the thing. Also, Ed and Lorraine Warren visited the house, who The Conjuring was based on. They were like 2 famous American paranormal investigators.
Yeah, I remember the film.
So they visited the house as well, and they also said they believed something was in the room. Now on that point,
I mean, they are bound to say that, aren't they?
Yeah. So on that point,
did old fucking matey go round? What's his name from the channel, the Sky thing.
Derek Okora.
Yeah, Derek Okora, that's it. What's the famous thing he says that's like the meme? Like,
The Wendy
I'm
one.
looking for dick.
that's it, I'm looking for dick, yeah.
So, there was a gruff voice I mentioned earlier. So after a while, the one of the girls started to talk in like a really, really low pitched gruff voice. That after a while they tested her, and if she did it for as long as she was doing it, she would have damaged her vocal cords, and there was no damage to her vocal cords at all. And I've got a recording of her in this gruff voice as well. Now the voice said that its name was Bill, and it lived in the house before this family had moved in. And over time, like they spoke to the girl, but obviously were speaking to Bill, like this, whatever it was, and they asked for more information. Started out one of the researchers just speaking to the ghost, which I'll play for you now, just to introduce you to Mr. Spooky Ghost. And then there's another bit where another researcher asked the ghost how he died, and he responds, and I'll play that in just a second. But this is the first one here.
There we go.
Then I said, I challenged it to talk.
Let me hear you say my name. That's not my name. No. Now, say Dr.
Near
Bell.
the mic,
Come
so I
on.
can hear it.
Come on, say it for me, Dr. Bell.
So it starts out as just like gruff, like anyone could be sort of doing that, I guess. It's not really conclusive, is it? So after a while, they were convinced it must be her doing this, just making it up or whatever. But like I say, they asked her, or the ghost, this Bill, for information about how he died, and then Bill replied. So I'll play you this next audio clip.
Ooh.
Now, the after this was obviously came out, the previous owner of the previous owner's son came forward, and I can hear sniggering coming from inside.
I think, Faz, are you blowing your nose in there?
She's just laughing.
No.
Oh.
So the previous owner's son came forward and listened to the tape and said, "That's exactly how my dad died in that house. That is how he died, and his name was Bill. He lived in the house before."
Stop it.
So I'll leave that. You can take that as whatever. I'm going to play the audio of the ghost.
I want to see what's happening with Janet. I want to see if her mouth is moving, what her face looks like. I thought I will look through the crack in the door. And just at that very moment, it said to me, "Shut my door." I thought that's pretty impressive. I've had my mind read there, so I thought I would ask it some questions about what I thought might inform me about what a ghost was or a poltergeist was.
I want you to tell me whether you remember what happened to you when you died.
I went blind. Then I had an hemorrhage and I fell asleep and I died in a chair in a corner downstairs.
This really was undeniably an old man's voice. Certainly not the voice of an 11-year-old girl.
Was buried in a nearby cemetery and had lived at the house before the Hodgsons moved in.
Sorry, that's fucked up there. But basically, the last bit of that that thing was this on the video was the son listening to the audio, and he says, "Yeah, that is how my dad died. Like his mum had gone out to the shops and came back, and he was dead. He'd gone blind, had a hemorrhage in the chair." In the living room.
That's either a very good hoax for back in the 70s or...
Yeah.
But
So-
I mean, you could have said anything in the 70s. No
Yeah.
one cared about fact checking.
Yeah, I mean, it's,
Yeah.
you just don't know. It's an element of mystery, which is why I like it.
Yeah.
It could be true, it could be fake. Now,
It's creeping me out wherever it is. I'm glad I didn't get high before this one. I'll be I'll be out of here.
So when I was younger, I remember it was 2006, I think, 2005, where this documentary came out, and they played that audio, and it was on at about like 11:30 at night, and I can't remember, I was probably maybe it was earlier because I was quite young. I was probably only about 12 or 13, And I couldn't sleep for
Yeah, I bet you
about
couldn't.
2 weeks.
Yeah,
Just,
that'd
I was
fuck-
convinced that is a fucking go. Like, it's
That would
terrifying.
have fucked me up, yeah.
But they
Fuck
did,
me up now.
But so they have admitted to faking some of the stuff to trick these two paranormal investigators, the sisters.
Are they?
Not all everything, but they've said that they used to hide things. They used to hide some of their equipment. They used to throw spoons without them seeing them throwing spoons, but they got caught a few times actually doing it. And in the report, the two reporters do say we caught them faking quite a lot of stuff, but there's some stuff that we can't we can't explain. The girls did say the reason they did it is just to wind them up because they were living there.
Yeah,
for a
you
year.
would, wouldn't you? If, a whole year of people like watching you and stuff, you would fuck with them.
Yeah,
I
like,
suppose.
yeah, fucking throw a spoon.
Yeah.
Although I will say, a few years ago, my mum dragged me to watch Psychic Sally of Sky One fame.
Oh yeah.
At the Cliffs Pavilion in Southend, and Sally is a lovely lady, and I've already said I'm a massive skeptic, but I fully believe that she believes this. And we went in, and to be fair, like the first one was really, really specific, like weirdly specific. And she was like, a spirit has joined me on the stage. He says this is his name, whatever. And he died in a car crash. And this girl that was sitting in the same row as we were in the stalls, she was like, oh my God, and like put her hand up. She'd been involved in some sort of car crash. And that was the guy's name. And Sally was like, yeah, and this happened, and this many cars were involved, and he had this colour car. And it was all like spot on. And we were all like, oh, that's creepy. And then after the interval, it was literally nothing. It was like an hour and a half of just sitting there. And Sally went, oh, this guy has joined me. He's got a heart tattoo that says like Bubba or something written across it. And it was just, people were just sitting in silence. And then she added like another detail. And then because people were so desperate to like have some sort of connection, they were like raising their hands and were like, oh, my nan had a tattoo that said Bubba, but Sally was getting like obviously annoyed, and she was like, no, I've said it's a man, and they're like, oh, sorry, and like sat back down, and that went on for about 25, 30 minutes.
See, that's funny because you normally expect them to go, right, I'm getting it wrong. It is an Anne.
Yeah.
You know what? She just had a crop. It's fine.
Yeah.
We spoke about psychics a long time ago, Rob. When in fact, when we were. I think it was after the first recording of the very first episode of Curios Cast. Remember we spoke about that guy who debunked the famous psychic in the US,
James Randi.
Yeah.
What was the guy's name?
Love a bit of James Randi.
Peter Popoff.
That's it. And he was being fed information by
his wife.
Radio.
And they tap into the radio frequency or something?
Yeah, they tapped in radio frequency. You can hear it, and she's going, Petey, if you can't hear me, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, and they just basically got him to fill out prayer cards with everything that's wrong with them, and she's sitting there fucking reading.
Yeah,
going,
his wife sat in the back room being like, call out this name, and they've got a relative with this name. Blah,
yeah,
blah.
Anne's got a bad hip, and he's going, bad hip.
I suppose it wasn't that's like evangelical preaching.
Evangelical healing, faith healing.
Yeah. I went and saw Darren Brown about 6-7 years ago.
Yeah.
And he was on stage and he was saying, people who say they can speak to the dead, mediums, all that bullshit, he goes, it's all fake. He goes, it's not true, they're scam artists. And he goes, and I'm going to prove that they're fake by doing it. He goes, I can't speak to the dead, but I'm going to do exactly what they do. And then he went, he said, the first 30 people up on stage, I'll do it to you. So everyone just fucking gets up and runs. So there's no way they could have planned the first 30 people to get there. Like someone who wasn't in on it would get there like within the first 30, right? So it's not like he's pointing at people in the crowd.
Yeah.
And he was going through every single person, and some of them he would be like pretty brief on, but they'd still get quite specific facts. And some he would be like, what's your name, mate? And he'd be like, oh, Dan. And he'd be like, oh, Dan, your granddad's here on stage with me. Like, your granddad. And then he'd like look to the crowd and be like, he's not really on stage. He's fucking dead. And then he'd be like, your granddad. His name was Roy. And then he'd be like, yeah, Roy. And then he'd be like, yeah, Roy's telling me he's not really because he's dead. And then he'd be like, and then he's telling me this and that. And then he'd like say things that would really freak him out. And there was like one that was really specific. He was like, can you think of something that was like quite unique to your granddad? Like whether it was a favourite like food he used to have or drink, or like a TV show he used to love, or something like something that would really make like separate him from someone else. He's like, yeah. He goes, what are you thinking of, a food or a drink? Or what? He goes, I'm thinking of a drink. Like, it was a drink that only he used to drink. And he go, okay, let me ask him. He'd be like, Roy, what drink did you used to like? And then he would be like, he's not really here, remember? I can't talk to the dead. And he turned around, it was like root beer and milk. Like he used to mix root beer and milk.
What?
It sounded awful, right?
Yeah.
And drink it. And the kid was like, fucking hell. And he's like, yeah, like he was just, so many people were just speechless, and he was doing it to everyone.
So what
did he explain how he's
he
doing?
didn't explain it. It was like the thing. He's like, but he was like, but all you need to know is I can't talk to the dead. He's like, I can't talk to dead. I can't talk to spirits. He goes, it's all bullshit. And he goes, but I can do it, and that's how I can prove that it's not
so
real.
Clever.
Yeah, it was annoying that he didn't.
It's got a suggestion or something.
Yeah.
I don't know, but how would you get something as specific as root beer and milk?
Maybe it's a regional thing. Maybe like
maybe.
as he was talking to this guy, he
I don't know.
asked him like where he was from or something, or like his family was from, and
That's a
maybe
good
it's
shout.
maybe it's like a
Maybe.
weird like local
But most people there
delicacy.
were all from London. Like,
But how
it was,
would you not?
know-
Why would you not give it away as well? Is it almost like he didn't want to ruin the secret for him because it's like
Yeah.
almost like a magic circle type vibe?
Yeah,
and
kind
it's
of.
like-
And like, I guess it
Yeah,
ruins his act a little bit as well. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
But
And I
like,
think as well, to go to these sorts of things, like obviously I went to Psychic Sally, but I went with somebody. Like
Yeah.
I wouldn't have chosen to do that. But I think the majority of the people that go to these things are like looking for some sort of connection.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
yeah, they
are
wanna
grieving.
believe it, yeah.
So
But-
so they're almost.
Yeah.
You know, it wouldn't surprise me if they were almost
Like, just
giving
going along with
out
it.
these like subconscious
Yeah.
tells
Yeah, of
because
course.
they're so desperate to just
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
have something affirmed.
definitely. I feel like Darren Brown's a little bit of an exception to that, because he
Yeah.
bases his whole thing around like no bullshit. Like,
Yeah.
it's not magic. It is all illusions.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you
it's
know,
people that go would
it's
be-
not mind reading.
would
And
be
like
It's just
suggestion.
yeah.
like making people suggestible and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I feel like a lot of the people that would go to that, like I ran up there, but I just wasn't quick enough because I was near the back. So I ran up and I was like, I don't know, there was like 5 people in front of me that didn't make it. I was like 35th or something.
Yeah.
I was really gutted because at that time I had no relatives that had passed away in my family. So I was like, what's he gonna do?
Yeah.
Like, who's he gonna call on and stuff like that? Like my cat, I don't know. But it's like, he says meow. But like, and I would have been the skeptic up there. I would have been like, no, like, you know, if he says anything that's a little bit wrong, I'd be like, no, you're wrong. But so I'm sure there was other people that also were in that mindset that went up there.
Yeah, you'd think.
But yeah, it fucking blew my mind.
Weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
Bizarre. I mean, I find it interesting. I don't, even though I say that I've seen ghosts, or a weird ghost and that sort of stuff, I don't necessarily believe in, especially psychics and stuff like that, because there's so many different factors and like, so it's just weird though. I like the mystery, as I've always said. There was another weird thing with a psychic actually, with my mum had won this psychic evening at the Peg, the Peg's club.
Yeah.
Right.
And so she went along. The Peg. So
Your mum had won a Peg.
Mike's looking a bit sad, sorry for himself there. He's gone a bit.
You're all dented in.
Puff you up.
Sorry, I just caved my skull in.
So yeah, she went to this psychic event, and she had a private reading after, like, as part of this thing she'd won. I don't know when she won it, and most of it was just sort of standard. It was my aunt had won this thing, so it was mostly for my aunt, and they'd done, read all this stuff, and then all that. A few things that she said to my mum sort of vaguely made sense, but one thing she said was, the name Lynn's going to be of significance in your family within the next couple of years. And this was about sort of 2 years before I met Lynn, my current girlfriend. That's just weird,
That's weird.
Yeah.
I'll give you that.
That could be complete bullshit, could be a massive coincidence, but it's just a bit strange. Obviously, I knew that she'd said that before meeting Lynn.
Yeah, so maybe you paid more attention.
Yeah, so that's
to
the only
when
reason.
you met Lynn.
The only reason I'm with Lynn is because a ghost told me.
Fucking ghost.
Yeah, so yeah, that's the Enfield poltergeist. I haven't really got too much on that. It carried on, and then eventually the happenings faded away. Apparently, the mum lived there until she died, so she lived there for a good.
Wow.
Moved the fuck out, weren't you?
And she reported things
Yeah.
happening up until when she died, after the 2 daughters had moved out.
Wow.
But make of it what you will. I know there's a few recent, or within the last couple of years, there was a thing on The Guardian, like a podcast they did where they sort of delved into it. It's interesting. If anything else, it's quite interesting listening to some of the things they did to sort of investigate it.
That was the longest story ever.
I feel like Tom's sneeze story was pretty long.
We're on about almost an hour and a half already.
That's all right.
Somehow.
That's cool.
Spooky special.
Yeah.
It's a special.
Yeah. It is a special.
The only other ones I've got, they're very, very short. This one in particular is really short. So again, this is from a classic in every book that I used to find, and this is you're probably going to laugh at this one. This is the Belmez Faces.
Oh.
So this is an alleged paranormal phenomenon that occurred in a private house in Spain. It started in 1971 when the residents started to report images of faces appearing in the concrete floor of the house. And here is one of the photos. I've got it on my iPad here. So they reported faces slowly appearing in the concrete over time. They tried to. Well, the husband dug out the concrete, smashed it up with a pickaxe, and then relaid the floor, and they came back. So the faces came back.
Oh.
This is one of the faces.
Oh, that's creepy, isn't it? Fucking hell.
Can you show me in the armhole? I can't see through there. Could you just?
Oh, I'll show you through the armhole.
Yeah, could you show me through?
Can you see that?
Oh, yeah, that is creepy.
That's quite creepy.
Oh.
For viewers at home, we'll put this up on the screen.
Yeah.
As we're discussing this. This is another one.
Oh.
Can you see that?
Yeah, I can see that.
There's another one that was on the floor.
Fuck off, really?
Yeah,
she looks like Miss
face.
Trunchbull.
That's very much a
whiskers.
face. The other one, you could almost be a bit like...
Yeah. It's like the classic
Jesus in a bit.
toast.
I was going to say
Yeah.
Jesus in toast, yeah.
There are more. I couldn't really find good pictures of them, but I remember seeing loads in these books when I was
You need
younger.
to get back to fucking Corringham
Library.
Library.
It's probably still there.
It probably is still there.
I still remember the smell of the book.
Yeah.
It's weird, isn't it? Like a good library smell.
Yeah.
So they were photographed by the local press quite a lot, and like I said, they faded in and out, and they relayed the concrete, and the faces came back.
Concrete inside the house?
Yeah, so in Spain and Greece and stuff, they use concrete quite a lot for their houses.
Keeps
right?
it cool.
Right.
Yeah, I'm guessing
I was
the
going to
floor is
say,
just
what's
like
going on with
concrete.
that? Oh, okay.
It was back in the 70s, so maybe, I don't know, rural Spain might have been a little bit more...
cheap.
Rural.
Not cheap, but like...
Basic.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not too sure where this exactly where this is in Spain. Andalusia, but I don't know where Andalusia is really. So the mayor was told, and he, because they're quite a religious country, Spain, right? Quite a Catholic family. He said, just destroy it. We need to just eliminate the chances of ghost or anything like that. So he destroyed it. But
Destroyed
however,
what? Destroyed what?
The floor.
Destroyed
they
the floor.
marked the floor again for a second time, but.
The mayor got involved.
They went to destroy the floor, but instead it was cut out, and they studied it. So there was a few investigations. They tried to figure out what the paint, or not paint, but like what it was made of, whether it was stone or whether it was something else that had been used to make the face. Obviously, trying to debunk it. They found that an analysis of the concrete did find lead and chromium in there. They couldn't explain where that had come from and why that would be in the concrete, and they thought that maybe it's enamel paint. So they were like, well,
yeah,
possibly it's just this lady painting these faces on. However, another German team covered over when a face started to appear. So when it started to fade in, they covered it with clear plastic, and they made it so if you took the plastic off, they'd know, like anti-tampering, whatever. And the face continued to appear and appeared under the plastic with no external sign of tampering or anything like that.
Oh, wow.
So they reported it as being unexplained. And again, with this one, through the 70s and into the 80s, it did continue. Some of them, they reported that there was enamel found within like the face. So again, were they painting some of them to embellish the story? That was a lot of the claims were that she's painted this one, but then counter to that, but these ones you can't explain. Has she then done it to embellish it?
It does just like she's done a better job of covering up the other ones, because it's like, why would
Who
you?
knows?
If they were real, I would think I better paint another one just to really ham it. I ain't been one in a while. Oh, Ghosty's chilled out.
So the main hypothesis of this is quite interesting, which is they thought it was thoughtographic. So they thought that they were created through pure thought. So they're imagining the
What?
pictures into existence.
Oh yeah, that's obviously
That's the only logical
That's likely, yeah.
explanation.
Well, that is a thing, isn't it? That like you will stuff into
Yeah, will
existence.
stuff into, and this was like
but
a.
it's not normally pictures in the ground.
No.
It's,
Usually
norm- it's
people with,
normally like
hashtag positive vibes only.
yeah,
on their
exactly.
Instagram
Yeah,
bio,
yeah. You
right?
will like,
Oh, but
like
there
you
would
manifest.
be so many tits on so many walls.
Yeah.
Like, if that was the case. Like,
yeah, children's like young boys' bedrooms just full of them.
Yeah.
This is my favourite. So there was only one real believer in this theory, right? And there was only one real publication ever sort of written about it. And it says the only serious publication today appears in the first chapter of the book, The Seen and the Unseen, by Andrew Mackenzie. And it says here, Mackenzie did not speak Spanish and did not have an interpreter. Only a local taxi driver and only two local taxi drivers were able to assist him, although very little. So it doesn't really give you much sort of hope that theory was not properly looked into. But yeah, so that's it effectively. There's these faces in a house in Spain that still continue to appear. They are reported to still appear, even though the lady is no longer there. So the owners are no longer in that house.
Lady of Spain, I adore you.
Could be bullshit. Probably quite likely to be bullshit, but
Yeah.
It's a weird one of bullshit, isn't it?
It was
Like-
a favourite
Yeah.
of mine, when I used to see it in the book.
It even could just be a coincidence. Like, if it is true that the faces just kind of appeared, like it could just be that obviously concrete changes colour over time just due to like light and moisture and stuff like that. So like maybe a face did kind of appear.
But I mean that is...
And then it is very facey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's also a weird face. What's with the sort of creepy kind of... It's a bit like
jowls.
That character from Star Wars, again, Numb.
Yeah, he's like
It's got
that.
like
Yeah,
jowl,
numb.
like
Yeah,
numb,
yeah.
numb
Yum
like
num,
jowls.
isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
I like
Yeah,
at
it is a-
at the start as well, Rob. You were like, "No, some Star Wars nerd shit," and now you're like bringing out all these obscure characters.
Yeah.
Known them by name.
And
The
I
only
did
reason
say this is not a Star Wars podcast.
No, yeah. The only reason... Oh, I'm dressed as a Star Wars, I was going to say. The only reason I know that character's name is because there's a guy that used to come into the place of work that looked exactly fucking like Numb. And everyone used to say it.
Let's get him on the podcast.
Yeah.
Tom,
Oh, shit.
speak to him.
Nah,
Yeah,
fuck
yeah.
that.
I'll zoom in.
Yeah, so that's the Belmez faces.
Wow.
I liked
Not
it.
particularly
Yeah.
interesting, but good.
It
It's
didn't
some
freak
good
me out as
photos.
much as the other one, so
No, the
I'm
other
happy with
one's
that.
it's the
The other
only
one
freak out
fucked
one.
me up, and I'm gonna have to listen. I'm gonna have to do some more reading on that tonight just to really fuck myself.
It's interesting. Like I say, there's a good documentary about the Enfield poltergeist, and there's some good video. In fact, there's video in there.
No,
and you can see the
gonna shit me.
interview with this girl.
Fucking hell.
I'll be
And
honest,
watch the film. Watch Conjuring 2
you could
as well.
watch Conjuring
No, fuck
2, yeah.
that. I do get freaked out by stuff. I'm pretty sceptical,
Yeah.
but I do get jibbed out.
But do you enjoy being freaked out?
I do
by it?
enjoy the
You know?
freaked out, like the
That's
sort
why
of
I like reading
adrenaline
about it,
height
yeah.
of it. Yeah,
That's why I watch horror films.
yeah.
I love it.
But the thing, I don't like horror films, but I love reading
Really?
about. Maybe because horror films more tangible, right? Like it's
Yeah.
you're living in it almost. You shit in your pants. Whereas this, I can read it and then put it down, and then it's
Yeah.
not until 2 in the
Yeah.
morning when I suddenly remember it, and I'm like, oh shit.
It's far removed. It's far removed enough that
Yeah.
you don't have to have a total jib out.
I don't really know whether to talk about this last one because it's a bit of a non-event, really.
You always do
Give
that.
us the
and you have
headline.
to do
No,
it,
it's
yeah.
this
Yeah.
one really is a non-event. Like this is another one from this book. It's about a place in London called 50 Berkeley Square, which was reportedly the most haunted house in London in the 19th century. So it was famous in Victorian London for the reported happenings that were going on in this house. So the news, it was in the newspapers, local people always talked about it, like a bit like a classic haunted house, like in a film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The locals are talking about this spooky house. So it was said to be haunted by the spirit of a young lady who had committed suicide by jumping out one of the top windows, right in the centre of London. So I mean, now it's probably millions of pounds to live there, but back in the day it was a bit decrepit, a bit run down, like a classic Victorian sort of townhouse. And the only reason I'm going to talk about it is there was a couple of people that went into the house that sort of poo-pooed the reports of it being haunted. One was a guy called Lord Littleton, who he was like a member of Parliament, and sort of went on to do something to do with New Zealand. I think he was like, I don't know, did something with New Zealand. He went in there, spent a night there, said he saw an apparition and shot his shotgun at it. Just classic American.
I was going to say,
style.
was this in England though? Not in
It was in
America?
England. This is in London. Yeah. So he fired his shotgun at it, and then chased the apparition through the house. So he was pretty convinced that he saw something.
Was the Benny Hill music playing?
Tried to find it, but he could only find his shotgun cartridges. That's all he could find. That sort of led him through the house as to where he kept firing at this like spook that he was chasing. This one's quite good. The following year, the local council issued a summons to the owners for failure to pay taxes, but they were not prosecuted because of the house's reputation for being haunted.
What?
That's a good way to dodge council tax.
Yeah.
Just say,
I'm too fucking haunted, mate.
Too terrified.
Do you reckon Essex County Council will accept that? If I'm right?
Probably not. I'd be very surprised. I might give it a go though. And then the only other bit is that I want to talk about is 2 sailors from HMS Penelope stayed a night in the house. This is the story that I always remember out of the book. So one of them was found dead the next day because he tripped as he was trying to run out of the house. And the other one was found in one of the top rooms, like frozen in terror. And he took a day or so to come round, but he reported that they'd been chased by a spirit, by a sort of an apparition, a grey apparition, through the house, and then they'd become separated, and he just like sort of froze and was stuck in the room all night, and never went back.
Wow.
Is it one of those things where like the walls were lined with lead, you know, like some mad paint, like radioactive paint from the time?
Fucking like the sewer gases coming up or something.
Yeah, I mean the main sort of argument against it is that a prior owner of the house, who was a guy called Myers, had gone insane, like he'd lost his mind a bit, and he just locked himself in this house and spent all day in the house, and he only woke up at night, so he was awake during the night and he slept during the day. So at night the house sort of came alive, there'd be noises, and he used to go around sort of moaning to himself and talking to himself. So at night people would hear all these noises coming from the house and think, shit, it's haunted, but it might, more than likely, it was actually this Mr. Myers sort of slowly losing his mind in his house. Then obviously after he died, people carried on.
And did he lose his mind because there was like a carbon monoxide leak or something?
Who knows? I mean, I don't think it was carbon monoxide.
No, maybe not at those times.
No, that's why I said like sewer gas and stuff, because like methane or whatever.
But so that's 50 Berkeley Square. No one reports any happenings today, so it's lived in today.
People got like TV and stuff. Like, back then there was nothing to entertain you other than like happenings. What might be happening. That's it.
So I think that one's a good urban legend, really. But I wanted to talk about it because it was always a firm sort of inclusion in any book that I read.
Nice.
And that's it. I know mine aren't very funny, but I enjoyed bringing them.
No, they were good, George.
They were.
Sorry they were so long, Faz. In the moment feedback.
I think Faz should go next.
Oh god, yeah, George, you can get revenge on my.
Make it snappy. Make it snappy.
All right, so I do have a couple. Let's see. I'll let you pick. So we've got the option of the first one being about corpses. You got a nice corpse story.
Nice.
You've got maybe a loose stalker story. And then I'll just give you those options. The other ones are just too good to start with.
Right, let's go corpses.
Corpses. Right, nice.
Trigger warning. Mainly for Sean Buckingham. You're getting a shout out. I know people didn't like the body dismemberment. What's that up on the wall? Isn't it?
There's a ghoul.
There's a ghoul up there.
Oh, there is a ghoul up there.
Whoa.
What is that?
Oh, it's my laptop.
Oh. We debunked it.
The reflection of the logo on my laptop.
So yeah, if you don't really want to hear about corpses and that, maybe we'll do a timestamp or something like that. But if not, just sort of skip.
Yeah, I mean, maybe just skip my entire segment because there are some like undesirable things. Okay, so let's go with the headline. Watch: Man discovers dead bodies in abandoned funeral parlour.
I think.
Have you seen this?
I may have seen. Is it in like the ceiling and shit?
No. What?
Right, okay.
What have you
even
been
better.
watching?
Yeah, I've got something to talk about then.
Oh, that's strange. No.
Personal experience. Excuse me. Let's talk about ghouls for an hour.
Talk about some shit. No. Okay, so the article reads, in new footage uploaded to YouTube, a man discovers an abandoned funeral parlour in the woods containing some truly gruesome sights. There is a video attached to this. I haven't yet watched the video, but maybe we could get that on the channel.
Yeah.
So it says, watch as he and a friend stumble across coffins holding bloody dead bodies. At the beginning of the video, they come across the deserted parlour called Memorial Mound. After carefully walking down the steps, they enter a darkened, rotted room. It's the other rooms, however, which truly bring the scares. Oh, look at this article baiting me further. In them, we see several open coffins, some of which contain small handwritten notes inside. The corpses themselves vary in condition. One of them belongs to an infant, which is really sad. The camera gets as close as possible to the carcasses, but it's the pictures shown afterwards that highlight the brutal stark reality. The video ends with an old advert for the parlour telling customers that many cemeteries are neglected, some are abandoned as time goes by. It also says, come and see the lights at night, a truly magnificent display. So
it's a weird thing to put.
yeah, a little bit creepy. It does note at the end that police have since secured the mound and are keeping it under surveillance to stop any further YouTubers trespassing.
Always secure the mound.
Secure the mound.
Yeah.
The clip at the time of this.
Yeah, I was thinking that's like a new phrase you use, like when you like trying to pull a night out, like secure the mound.
That is just. That's worse than my article. So when this was posted, just over a year ago, the video at that stage had nearly 3 million views. One comment said, "Oh my god, I really thought this was clickbait, but still wanted to see what a left funeral home looked like. Really didn't think this place had actual bodies in there." Another said this will make a good scary movie location, and one added, "I'm surprised it took so long for these to be discovered. Why weren't the families looking for their loved ones? I have a hard time believing that these people were all forgotten about." The rest of the article just kind of digresses further.
There's no like context as to why the funeral home sort of shut down, or
no.
It's really weird.
Yeah,
that is really weird.
Really, really interesting.
And how about the handwritten notes?
Yeah, I think they were just basically like directions or like shorthand for whatever the parlour used to describe certain like people type.
Dead.
People like 0% life.
This one dead. Other one, not alive.
That's mad.
Yeah, so that gave me the creeps a little bit, so I quite liked it. Yeah, but we'll get the video up. We'll get some pictures up. If they're not too, as I say, I haven't actually looked at them yet.
I'm guessing we'll blur out the bodies are probably blurred.
Yeah, of course. Right? Yeah, of course. Like for respectful reasons, but.
So I was wondering whose battery pack this was. Like a battery pack from like the 90s.
Yeah, it's cool, man.
It's fucking ridiculous. Tom just got the most absurd battery pack I've ever seen. It's like a brick.
It's huge because it gets me like. You can charge your phone maybe like 7 or 8 times with this, and it's still.
Sorry, is this a sponsor? Have you segue into a sponsor?
I'm intentionally covering up the brand.
I've got one that you can charge like 7 or 8 times. It's half the size of that.
I might have under-exaggerated. What's the opposite of exaggerated? Like when I say 7 or 8 times.
Underplayed.
Undersold.
Yeah. Undersold.
Yeah, it's good, man.
Right, sorry, Faz.
I wish I could say.
I got very distracted by that. Yeah. You can't.
I can't see shit. This next one.
Before you move on, sorry.
Go on.
Just on the subject of funeral parlours, I forget exactly where I saw this, but there was a story I came across. I'll see if I can find it, and we'll link it in some way, or maybe revisit it next time. Where a funeral home was found to have been stealing bodies, but they had them they'd like secreted them in the walls or in the ceiling, like the crawl space.
What?
So I forget what the reason was now. I can't remember what the reason was. It was potentially due to like financial gain, as well as just being a little bit obviously fucked in the head, where this funeral home was stealing bodies and just keeping them. There was like babies' bodies, obviously grown bodies, all in the ceiling and the walls of this funeral home, which is just fucked. That's just weird.
It's fucked.
Have they like been embalmed and stuff? Yeah. Otherwise, they'd fucking rot and stink.
They'd be embalmed. I think I might have, for some reason, when you go into a YouTube hole, I came across this YouTube channel where this mortician is just talking about. She's got a YouTube channel, loads of views, like millions of views, where she just talks about mortician-y stuff. And I think it was on there. Like the reason I came across it is because it had blown up a bit, and it was said like bodies found in funeral home or something like that.
Yeah.
But pretty gross. I'll see if I can find the full story.
That's horrible.
Good God.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have a little look for that, George.
Thank you, Mike Wazowski.
There's a good chance the video you described, Faz, might be a little bit too graphic for YouTube.
That's
but we don't want to get.
Yeah.
We don't want to
But
get stricken.
it was on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
So
Was it
the video
blurred
was
out?
posted to YouTube.
Is the stuff like blurred out?
I don't know. I assume so for it to get past the guidelines.
We'll assess
So it might be age gated or something.
Yeah. So we'll revise it. If not, you can Google it out
doesn't
there,
matter. The
Mr.
description was
Listener.
good enough.
Yeah.
Thank you. So this next one is sort of more true crimey. So the headline is couple flees $1.3 million dream home after threats from Watcher.
This is a good one.
Have you read this?
No.
Yeah, I've read this.
Oh, yeah, it was creepy.
George read everything.
I know.
Read everything.
It's all I do in my spare time is just read bullshit on the internet.
So it says a family has been forced to flee their new $1 million home in Westfield, New Jersey, after repeatedly receiving threatening packages from
I
a
immediately
person.
feel less sorry for them.
Yeah,
Really, yeah.
I mean, come on. From a person who calls themselves the Watcher. CBS New York reports that the packages are from somebody who claims the 6-bedroom home, and in quotes, has been the subject of my family for decades. The note goes on to say, I've been put in charge of watching and waiting for its second coming. 2 other letters allegedly refer to the couple's young children by name.
Ooh,
it says,
that's
I'm
horrible.
pleased to know your names now and the name of the young blood you have brought to me. One reportedly says. Another asks, have they found out what's in the walls yet? The couple has filed a lawsuit against the previous owners, who they claim failed to inform them about the Watcher before the sale, despite being aware of the individual. Yes, in the tenancy.
Oh, they was aware?
Yeah.
How did they know they were aware?
The previous, I believe the previous owners, because this went to court. Like there was a lawsuit filed
They
against
said they
them.
weren't aware, I think.
Well, I don't know. Gawker.com says differently.
Because they were just saying, well, we've not heard any letters. I know they had a letter from like a year or so ago, I think.
Yeah.
And then, but they just like discarded it, and then didn't think to mention it, I think. And that's what they're saying. Well, we didn't, we didn't really know.
Yeah. I mean, the entire lawsuit for this is available online.
Reach out to these guys.
Yeah, it's just absolutely insane.
Get an interview with a Watcher.
The previous owners did admit that they received at least one letter previously from the Watcher, most recently in May 2014, before they sold the property. But within the
I just wouldn't have admitted it, wouldn't you? So,
Yeah.
we didn't
you
get
just be like, oh, I
anything,
don't know what to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I thought that was super creepy and a little bit.
That is creepy.
Yeah.
Going to keep me up at night and make me think.
Another little add on to that is when they were trying to move to, because they wanted to obviously leave the house, and they were trying to build another house to move into. The like the local council were just refusing to let them build this new house.
Oh really?
Yeah, but they were approving other houses because they were saying it doesn't fit, like the dimensions are too big. But then they'd approve other houses that were bigger than the dimensions that they were doing. So part of it, another sort of theory is that it's the local. There's like this weird local community group that are just like super against other people moving into the neighbourhood.
Yeah.
And
Right.
they're trying to keep it like local and force them out.
That's weird.
Yeah.
It's still spooky though, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Spooky.
Speaking of like when they said that they knew the child's name and stuff like that, and they're getting letters through the door. When I was a kid and I was convinced that my house was haunted, we used to always get letters come through the door addressed to like whoever lived there before. I remember the name was like Richard Piper was like the name that we kept getting, and it wasn't like anything like it was like letters from the bank and like insurance companies and stuff like that. Like it wasn't anything like more junk mail.
Nefarious.
Yeah, no nefarious stuff, no spooky letters or anything. But I for some reason I like put it in my head that like, oh, Richard Piper lived here, he died, and that's the ghost. So I used to like refer to the ghost like, in my head as Richard. And when one of my friends were around and I was telling them that this house is haunted, like there's a ghost that lives in that cupboard and stuff like that. And then obviously like as a kid you're like, fuck, like probably like actually believe it. And I was like, yeah, his name's Richard Piper. And he was like, didn't believe me, like whatever. and he was like staying over that night, and then the next morning like the postman comes and I pick up like the letters, and one of them is for Richard Piper, and I like pretend to him that like this doesn't happen all the time. I'm like, oh my god, I'm like, he got a letter from Richard Piper, and he fucking shit himself to the point where like next time I invited him round, like he was like, no, I can't, and his mum spoke to my mum, and it was because he was too scared to come round because he like believed it was a ghost. So then my mum made me like tell him that I was messing around with him, but then in my head I was kind of like, but it is haunted. I was telling him, oh no, the Richard thing, like we always get post for him, blah 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 blah. And then I was in my head, I'm like, but mum, there is a ghost in that cupboard. Like his name might not be Richard, but there is a ghost there. And we're still mates now. So
he's here tonight.
Not Richard, my mate. Don't know. I haven't looked in that cupboard for a while though. I'll have a look.
Maybe revisit.
Yeah.
I do have to make a bit of a disclaimer before this next one. Sean, if you are listening, please just skip this. Like, just you're too good for what I'm about to discuss.
Strap yourselves in.
He's listened to the other episodes.
Yeah, but I feel like this is.
Next level.
I felt bad for Sven before. Like, this is just going to be so much worse. So, okay, I'm just going to read that. So this comes from Reddit, the cesspit of the internet in many ways, and it includes a follow-up.
Where I grew up.
You and Richard met. Yeah. It does include a follow-up as well. So the first line states, ever since I was a teenager, I have had very intense fantasies about having sex with a giant roach.
Roach?
What, a cockroach?
Yeah, like a big old roach.
I do remember you telling me about this one.
It does stick with you.
Yeah.
Absolutely horrendous.
Right, so, it's quite a lengthy post, so I'm just going to read out select parts. So, what's his name? So, his username is actually I Love Roach.
Is he just talking about Papa Roach?
Yeah, and it just evolved. So, he says, it started in 9th or 10th grade when we read The Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka. As I started to think more and more about the roach creature that the character had become, I started to imagine what it would be like if a woman turned into the roach instead. I found this idea very arousing. I would not be repulsed or frightened of her as the characters in the story are. I would take care of her. And then my thoughts started to get sexual with the character. Eventually, I sort of dropped the bit about her having been a human woman first, and I kind of imagined this fictionalised roach species. They are giant roaches, the size of a person, and have complete intelligence. I kind of over time conjured up an imaginary friend of sorts. She was one of these roaches, and her name was Ogtha. I would fantasise.
Very sexy name.
I know,
Ogtha.
right? Rolls off the tongue.
Oggy.
I would fantasise about her often. Whenever I masturbated, I would be imagining.
I like the little pause.
I was trying to decide whether or not.
I mean, at least you said we would have said wanked.
Jerked. I'd be imagining elaborate scenarios of me and Ogtha making love. He then goes on to explain that when he was actually having sex with, like a real person, he couldn't perform or reach his destination unless he was thinking of Ogtha. So whenever he cracks on, he imagines that he's just thinking about this roach, and there's a really funny line in here, and he says, so basically now anytime I have sex with a woman, I'm pretending that she's actually Ogtha. Not just think about Ogtha, I concentrate intently to visualise that I'm actually doing Ogtha.
Imagine the face he's putting.
Hang on, this is the absolute best bit. I don't want to think about the girl at all. There is only Ogtha.
Do you reckon he accidentally sometimes goes, oh, Ogtha? Oh.
Well, it's funny because this actually originated in the subreddit Today I Fucked Up. So we're getting to the part where he fucked up.
Brilliant.
It's a surprise this gentleman even has a woman to sleep with.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he's just a hot weirdo. Yeah. He says, he goes on to justify that, sex is obviously not, interesting really, unless I can be with Ogtha. So he does, where is it? He goes on to say that he does have a girlfriend, and there are things that he likes to fantasise about Ogtha, including multiple appendages and antennae that allow for an experience that a human woman could never match. So he's been with his girlfriend for about a year at this point of writing this post, right?
Does she know?
No. Well, so he hasn't told her at this stage, but he always imagines that she's Ogtha. Then the other day, he finally came clean, and obviously she went mental. He was like, I imagine that she would react badly, but then they'd be all right with it over time. But,
I might say this to Lynn when I get in.
Yeah. He says, I'm afraid that she's going to break up with me and also going to tell people about Ogtha. I don't know how to face anyone. This is going to sound silly, but I also feel guilty about feeling shame, as if Ogtha will be saddened by this, even though I know she's imaginary. I don't know what to do at this point.
Brilliant.
So obviously that's a whole big bit of baggage to unpack, but he does a follow-up 5 years later.
5 years?
5 years. Today I fucked up by admitting to my co-workers that my wife Ogtha is an imaginary giant roach. An update of sorts to my prior today I fucked up from 5 years ago. So at the start he links the original post, but the whole reason I came across this is because I was reading a subreddit that basically was an Ask Reddit that got people to explain the most iconic Reddit post that they'd ever read, and this was attached. So
brilliant. So
he goes on to kind of recap what his original post was as well, and that he wants to rag out Ogtha. So
gone from masturbate to
rag out, yeah.
Where is it? Right, so he says, in the 5 years that have passed since this topic was posted, I decided to stop fooling myself and I just committed to the love of Ogtha. I know she is not real per se, but in my head she is an actual personality. Yeah, I know, there's any debate that she's real.
Some would argue that my imaginary roach of a girlfriend is not real.
I don't care if she is a roach or if she is imaginary. The love is real. Call me deluded, but it's harmless and it makes me happy. I've not had a real girlfriend again since that incident 5 years ago, but occasionally I have had one night stands via online apps.
What does he feel when he sees just a normal cockroach?
He doesn't actually go on to explain that, but I think I don't know. I think a lot of it, from what he says, is about the size of the roach.
Right.
I think ordinary basic bitch roach doesn't do it for him. And he actually says, on the one night stands, on these times I always envision the woman is Ogtha, my sensual roach queen. He then goes on to say, I mean no offence to the women, of course.
How would you feel if you got compared to Ogtha, queen of the roaches?
I would be absolutely blown away.
It's something to aspire to, really.
Wow.
I was thinking, imagine any of your colleagues coming out to you and saying, hey, I've been talking about
my wife
my wife or my girlfriend for the past couple years.
Turns out,
I always say that, I'm just hanging out with her tonight, or we're going here, we're going there.
Of her tonight.
Yeah. And turns out she's not actually real. I've just made her up this whole time. You'd be like,
P.S.
fucking
she's
hell,
a roach.
that's weird. Yeah. And then she's like, I don't even imagine a person. I imagine a big roach.
I love her
roach
antenna.
person. Yeah, a huge roach.
Yeah.
And then, why'd you call it Ogtha?
So
Where did Ogtha come from?
Yeah.
I have no idea. I mean, it's fitting though. I feel like that's a very authentic name.
It is quite a
for
roach name.
Yeah. So he's done well. He then does go on to explain that he became so in love with her that he married her in his living room. He did a little ceremony and recited vows, and he imagined her reciting hers. He even went on a quote honeymoon, which technically you could say was a solo vacation to New Orleans for a week. But in my mind, Ogtha was with me the entire time. I think of her as my wife.
This guy needs a carbon monoxide check.
Yeah, he's broken. So then he gets on to what happened at work. And this is just so fucked. So he says,
it hasn't got fucked yet.
The roach sex I can deal with.
I was waiting for the fuck bit, yeah.
But the professional side. So he says, this is where I fucked up. I got so used to thinking of her as my wife in my head that a few months ago at work, I nonchalantly said my wife in an innocuous sentence. So he just basically explains that everyone at work was talking about a TV show that he watches in his mind with Ogtha, and he just made a off-the-cuff comment and went, oh yeah, me and my wife love that show. So everyone at work was like, oh, I didn't know you had a wife. Like, that's so lovely. Like, can
Have
you
you got a photo of her?
No, yeah. He literally says people have been asking to see pictures. So then he started freaking out, and like it got worse and worse and worse, and more people were inquiring like how they met, you know, what she's like. So then he said we were at a team lunch, and I just let it all spill out. I told them about how I became enamoured as a teenager with the Franz Kafka story, how my fantasy evolved into an actual imaginary entity, and how I slowly began to grow in love with her. What started as mere sexual attraction to giant roaches blossomed into a whirlwind romance, and that she became the love of my life, even though her existence was in my own mind. People thought he was joking at first, right? And then slowly began to realise that he's actually nuts. No one speaks to him anymore. Nobody has lunch with him. Like,
Jesus.
nobody... Like,
has no one recommended he sees a fucking
psychiatrist?
Mental health professional.
He seems happy, though.
Yeah, he's not hurting anyone. Apparently, some of his colleagues allegedly went to HR, but they were told that there's nothing they can do about it.
Why
and
the
that,
fuck would you go
that's-
to HR?
I don't know. Can you sack him for loving roaches?
Emailing HR, just my colleague's fucking weirdo.
Help.
Yeah.
The best part for me is in this last like closing statement. So he summarises that he's looking for a new job, and he's kind of like learnt his lesson. He can never talk to anyone about that.
Exterminator.
But he does say, no matter what, I will be staying with my wife, Ogtha. For me, it is Ogtha forever. If you must know, I do hope that even if I am an old man, that one day the technology is invented to extract the Ogtha personality from my mind and implant it into a real external body, either of a genetically engineered or a mechanical nature, and me and Ogtha can experience genuine physical connection.
So you plan on living for 1,000 years until that technology is available?
And also assuming that someone else is weird enough, and also that into science to like make
I've been waiting for years for someone to come. Let's do it.
I had the machine ready. No one wanted to do it.
But
absolutely mental. I think.
I reckon you could by now make a mechanical roach that you could fuck. Like you could.
Yeah, I mean, you could get like sex
reach
bots,
out to
can't
a
you?
real
sex
doll.
bots, and you could make a mechanical roach thing like for a film prop.
Yeah,
you could definitely make one that you could fuck.
Yeah.
I mean, if you've been to the Harry Potter tour in the studios,
Well,
they've got the Aragog.
They've
They've got Aragog though, and he's pretty big.
I thought you could say, there's all. You go to that, there's all kinds of things you can fuck there.
No.
Well, I must say, Faz, I did enjoy that. However,
it's not very spooky.
Yeah. What brought you to that?
Well,
With the spooky theme.
I've just been dying to talk about it. No, to be fair, I thought
roaches are quite spooky.
Roaches are quite scary,
like humanoid
and
kind of roach.
If you think about the original Men in Black film with a guy, Vincent D'Onofrio's character, with the roaches crawling out of his mouth and big bug
horrible.
man. Oh my god, maybe he wants to fuck the Vincent D'Onofrio bug man.
Oh, maybe that's
must be. Yeah,
he must knock one out to that.
Oh yeah,
he's got him, innit? Come on.
But he's cheating on Ogtha.
Yeah,
true, actually. And he's nothing if not loyal.
Yeah, and Ogtha knows.
Ogtha for life.
She's imaginary, so she's omniscient.
Do you reckon they have arguments?
Nah.
Yeah, he's like, the bloody wife.
But he wins every time. Yeah.
He's like, if you're not careful, I'll pull off one of your legs.
Yeah.
He'll grow back.
I like that he imagines himself watching TV. Like, do you reckon he actually sits there with his arm sort of like around a pretend?
Do you reckon all he watches is like A Bug's Life or
Ants?
Ants. And like
David Attenborough, Small World.
So for this last one, I wanted a palate cleanser. Sean, you can now tune back in if you're still with us. This last one's kind of wholesome. It's kind of similar to your one from the start, Rob, but slightly less creepy.
Okay.
So it's published.
I've already forgot. That was fucking years ago.
What are we on now? Like 2 hours? Over 2 hours?
Yeah, coronavirus is gone.
Yeah. Go on, Beth.
So this was published on The Independent. George.
Sorry, I'm always surprised by time. Time always really surprises me. So whenever I see that time's changed, it freaks me out.
His little arm flapping about.
Jesus Christ!
I'm just going to see how warm it is in there.
It's really hot.
Jesus!
I'm so hot.
Do you want some water?
No, because then I'll need to pee. It's so hot.
dedicated to this costume, I must say. Getting your money's worth.
Well, yeah,
I'm
of course I am. I'm going to wear it at home. Okay, so the headline is: a family shocked to receive text messages from oh, bloody hell. Family shocked to receive text messages from dead grandmother's mobile phone. The family of Leslie Emerson had been sending messages to the phone she was buried with, but never expected.
Buried with your phone?
Yeah, they buried her with it. So it is kind of wholesome. I'm not going to read it word for word, but basically her granddaughter...
Help.
I'm
still alive.
Pull me out.
Shit, that's horrible.
So her granddaughter had been really struggling with the grief surrounding her nan's death. So she'd been sending her like text messages, just speaking to her and, you know, talking about her day as, you know, part of her grieving process. One day though, she received a reply and it said, "I'm watching over you. You'll get through this. You'll be all right." She received another text message when she replied to
wrong
it.
number.
Saying, "I'm watching over you and it's all going to get better. Just push through." Yeah, it turned out that of course it wasn't the dead nan.
Oh.
But sorry, spoiler alert. Yeah, she reanimated. Yeah, the network provider, I think it was O2, just reallocated the number. So that's all it was. And the person on the other side of the phone thought that they were helping. Which obviously
it's a big judgment call.
Yeah.
How do you,
because then you're also you've got to do that for the rest of your life.
How did the person know that they were texting their dead nan?
Because they probably said like, "I really miss you."
She was like, "Nan, I love you," whatever, something like that.
Okay.
But I mean, then you're committed to that for the rest of your life.
Yeah, that is a call, isn't it, to take? I'm going to text back and I'm going to
unless you pull I can see a bright light.
What's going on over there, Tom? Licking your finger.
My costume only allows me to use my trackpad when my fingers are wet.
But you sort of raised your eyes at me in a suggestive way and then lift your finger and then put your finger somewhere down below. Like, oh, yeah.
I just looked out my little peephole.
Well, that was a weird one, Faz.
Yeah, so there's more details, but I feel like it's arbitrary, so we'll leave it there.
Yeah, they're strange ones, aren't they? I reckon that's probably pretty common.
Yeah,
I had it before where this is not texting a ghost, but I text the phone number of someone at work. I'm pretty sure it was when I first got Rowan's number, a guy I work with.
Yeah.
I texted it saying, "Any chance you can do a shift swap, whatever?" And they were like, "Yes, mate, no worries." So I'm like buzzing, sick. Yeah, I'm gonna get my shift swap done, you know. And I go into work and I ask about it, and then they're like, "Yeah, cool, just get around and confirm whatever." I go, I ask him, and he's like, "What are you on about?" He's like, "I didn't get a text." I'm like, "You for real?" Yeah, and then. And I checked the number, and it turned out it was just
random person.
Just some random person. I replied to him, and I was like, "This isn't Rowan," and they were like, "Yeah, sorry, man, I'm just fucking with you."
That's so funny.
And I was like, "Fair enough, man. That is quite funny, to be fair." And they were like, "Yeah, well, I'm glad you saw the funny side of it. Nice one, like, you know, glad you took the joke or something." Yeah,
that's so funny.
Yeah, no, I think what happened is they'd done it twice. Before I'd asked him, the first time he'd done it, and he said, "Oh no, I have to try and. I'll never have the message anymore." But it's something like, I think he'd said it. I think the first one he said, "Yeah, no worries, I can do it." And then in the end, maybe I just didn't do it or didn't follow through with it. And I texted him again about a different thing, and they again said, "Yeah, mate, are you in tomorrow?" "Yeah, I'm in tomorrow."
So
yeah,
they're probably thinking, "Fucking hell!" Like, but what the child, like, it actually works. Like,
yeah,
somehow a shift got sorted. This is incredible.
I've also, conversely, I've been getting messages for someone. I'm pretty sure they're looking for drugs. They've messaged me,
and they're messaging you.
Fuck off. No, I think they want heroin or something, because they text me saying, "I'm really sick here, really need something," or whatever they're saying.
Yeah.
And I've replied like, "Pretty sure you got the wrong number, mate. I'm not Linda or whatever it is." I asked for like Linda or something. They're like, "Oh, sorry." And then they messaged again like a few times, like, "Really, come on, hit me up. Stop mugging me off," kind of thing like this. And I'm like, really need to stop messaging
me.
Maybe
the code word for this, like at the moment, there's a policeman with me. Is, "Sorry, mate, you got the wrong number." And then they're like, "Right, we'll leave it for a few days."
Yeah.
And then try again.
Yeah. Why use it? I'll see if I'll find the messages. It's on this phone, so I don't think I would have deleted
that
them.
phone there?
This, I mean, as in, not since I got a new phone, you know. Usually have a chat. Well, we'll move on to Tom.
Yeah,
when I
Tom,
find
you
these,
crack
I'll...
on.
Yeah. So I've got two. Would you rather? Well, we're going to do them both, but what first?
Go on.
Werewolf or ghost?
Werewolf.
Let's finish on a ghost. So let's go werewolf first.
George.
All right.
Can that be the tagline for this episode?
Finish on. didn't even think about it.
Yeah, I found them quickly, by the way.
Go on, go for it.
I just got one saying, sick as fuck here, love. And I replied saying, who's this? And I got Smicker. So my first thought was like, are they in a club? And they're like, it's sick as fuck in here. Like, and then and I was like, to think maybe not. And then another one tried to ring me loads. It was, will you do that for me? Really sick here, love. Will you do me a bag, cash? And then another one, Alison, have you a bag there, cash? Have you? And then another message saying on, and then on, which implies like maybe they're the dealer. And then I was like, you're messaging the wrong number again, my friend. Because I already messaged before saying wrong number. Yeah, there you go. Alison. I'm not Alison.
Alison, if you're listening. No,
why
Smicker.
Smicker.
If you're listening.
Why wouldn't you just
Wrong
block the
number.
number instead of like keep
Well, because it
replying?
was just quite entertaining.
Yeah, it's still fun.
It
Alright,
wasn't the worst in the world.
I
Cool.
had a wrong number once. Like, messaged me, and I tried to have a joke around with them. They just didn't find it funny at all. Message back saying, "Oh, yeah, thanks for nothing, mate. Laters." Oh, okay.
Well,
See you later.
they weren't as well human as me, were they?
Hope we don't fall on the spike.
Oh, right. Go on, Tom.
Anyway, crack on.
President of Argentina adopts Jewish godson to stop him turning into a werewolf.
Excellent.
So
Seems legit.
You've got me already. Stop licking your finger.
I'm trying to zoom.
Oh man, I'm
Zoom.
Do you want me to
There
zoom
we-
for you?
No, I got it.
I wouldn't touch
So-
that.
No, yeah, it's got.
Do you want to use my mic hand? Will that work?
Stop poking your mic hand out.
So
Put me off.
hot. I'm so hot.
Yeah, it's not actually like that scary at all. It just happens to have like werewolf sort of relations in it.
Right.
But not relations as in sleep finishing on a werewolf. But
It's Faz's guy again.
Yeah.
so did we say we was going to finish on a werewolf or finish on a
Finish on
Finish on a ghost.
Oh,
That's
good,
my
good.
motto. Finish on a
okay.
ghost.
All right. Anyway, so the president of Argentina has adopted a young Jewish man as her godson to stop him turning into a werewolf, according to tradition. So, President Cristina Fernandez de Kirchner met this guy called Yair Tavil and his family at her office last week to mark an unusual ceremony that dates back over 100 years. So, according to Argentinian folklore, the seventh son born to a family, if they don't have a girl in between, so if you have 7 boys in a row, then it's feared that your son will turn into El Lobizon, which is basically a werewolf. The werewolf-like creature shows its true nature on the first Friday after the boy's 13th birthday, the legend says, turning the boy into a demon at midnight during every full moon, doomed to hunt and kill before returning to human form. So there's a picture of just the president of Argentina there blowing out some, what are those Jewish candles called? Those Jewish candles, you know what they are.
What is that called? I can't remember.
As well as feeding on excrement, unbaptized babies, and the flesh of the recently dead. El Lobizon is said to be unnaturally strong and able to spread its curse with a bite.
Unnaturally strong. Maybe all these bodybuilders missing a trick. They need to eat excrement, flesh of the recently dead,
Maybe,
and unbaptized babies.
They need to visit that museum we spoke about last
They
episode.
do, yeah, they'll get
with all the food and drink.
Tom, I've just done a Google, and the candles are called the menorah.
The menorah.
Not the name I was thinking of
blowing
at all.
up
I was
the
thinking of
menorah.
yarmulke, but I think that's the hat.
That's
isn't
the
it?
hat, yeah. So fear of El Lobizon was so rife in the 19th
Did you pay for that
century
voice,
Argentina.
That's Bill's voice, isn't it?
So in the 19th century, families even abandoned or murdered their baby boys because they feared El Lobizon so much.
You're having
that
a lot of fun there, aren't you?
they thought that their their 7th child would turn into a werewolf. And so they would kill their children. So it sparked an unusual presidential practice of adoption to stop the deadly stigma. So basically, if you have 7 boys in a row, the president adopts your 7th child, essentially in like a religious ceremony. It used to only apply to Catholic children, so only Catholic children had the privilege of being adopted by the president to get rid of.
The others would just have to turn into El Lobizon, and there was nothing they could do about it.
Yeah,
Rob,
no, it's not El Lobizon.
El Lobizon.
Sounded like you were selling a new perfume. Or
El Lobizon. Oh, the farm.
El Lobon.
Yeah.
So it started in 1907, the tradition, and then in 1973, Juan Domingo Perón was also extended the practice to baby girls as well, which I don't know why, because
it's the 7th son, right?
Yeah, the curse was only on boys, so I don't know, but
political correctness gone mad, innit?
Yeah, can't do anything these days.
Can't even have El Lobizon in your family. Fucking politics.
So, 7th son or daughters, now much rarer than 100 years ago, gain the president as their official godparent, as well as a gold medal and full educational scholarship.
Wow.
So surely there's families out there just like pumping out kids in the hope that one of their sons will become the president's adopted.
Yeah, but you need to have a shitload before you have 7.
Yeah, 6.
Yeah, about 6. Yeah.
Yeah, but the chance of having 6 boys in a row.
Yeah.
Unless you're the Weasleys.
Unless you're is that how many they have?
Well, I think they didn't have 7 boys.
No, I think you'll find it was Bill, Percy, Charlie,
Fred,
Ron,
George.
and George.
That's
so
right.
I don't know. I haven't counted, but I don't think that is 7.
Anyway, even now...
And Ginny was a girl.
Even now, reports of dog-like creatures attacking livestock continue, as does the tradition.
Wolves, yeah, mate. Yeah.
Look a bit like dogs.
Bloody hell.
Has that got links to El Chupacabra?
No.
El Chupacabra. What's that from?
It's from like Mexico and the south states of the US.
Mm.
And they think it's like a cryptid, which we'll talk about.
Chupacabra.
El Chupacabra.
Yeah.
Means the goat sucker in Spanish.
Wow.
That's pretty much it for my one. It was just that, there's a crazy tradition. Luckily, she was happy to adopt him. Otherwise, he would have turned into a werewolf. And
there you go.
God knows what would have happened. What it also says, it didn't say it in that article, but there was a few others that covered the same thing. And because obviously it's quite rare that happens now. It's rare that people have that many children in the first place, let alone have that many of the same sex in a row.
I've done a spooky fart, mate. You're going to smell that in a minute.
Oh, no. You're probably all right in there.
Yeah, thank God.
You've got your little hermetic seal.
Yeah, I nearly passed away earlier when you did that. That would have been special.
Yeah, that was a haunting of my earlier...
That was absolutely
haunting of Rob's arse.
Yeah.
But there was in one of the articles, it said that... So that was from, I think, 2009 or so, when... the president adopted that child. But about 10 years before that, another child had been born. And he was the 7th son.
Yeah.
And you have until like your 13th birthday, and then it's the Friday after your 13th birthday is when you're fucked. And you turn into El Lobizon. And that went a bit French, that one. But she denied it. The president was like, nah.
Well, the same president?
Yeah. So the president was like, no, not interested.
Yeah.
And then years later, she was like, yeah, okay, you're all right, and adopted that one. So I don't know why.
What happened to that boy then? The one that wasn't adopted? Was he just
turned
into the woods?
Obviously turned into a werewolf.
Yeah.
Fucked a load of people up.
Yeah,
that's why she did the next one.
Yeah. She obviously
learned a lesson.
Redacted.
Yeah. Classic. Must have done. That's the only possible end to the story.
Yeah.
That he turned into a werewolf, ate a load of people. What?
He what?
Should we move on to Ghost?
Yeah.
Ghost.
Finish on a ghost.
Finish on a ghost. Man convinces woman her vagina is haunted and tries to rid ghosts with his penis.
Unbelievable.
So
we've all been there.
It happens. So, yeah. Ghostbuster Huang
Lobizon.
Zhizhan allegedly tried to perform exorcism with his penis.
With his ectoplasm.
So he was arrested for it.
Wonder why.
For allegedly convincing a woman that his penis could get rid of evil spirits in her vagina. According to a translation...
Was that someone's belly there?
That was my throat, yeah. I think it was Bill. Yeah.
Fucking hell.
The victim
The ghost
allegedly...
of Lawford.
The victim allegedly came to the self-described Ghostbuster because she needed help seducing her boss, who she had a crush on.
Ooh.
That's when Zhizhan, not El Lobizon, Zhizhan allegedly pitched the unorthodox exorcism idea.
What? Wait, so she was like, I really want to get off my boss, so she goes to see
a Ghostbuster.
He's like,
Why?
right.
What's that got to do with a ghost in the first place?
Maybe she was trying to like do a ritual. Maybe she was,
Oh, what? So she knew she had spirits in her vagina, and she was like, I want to get my boss. I can't possibly get my boss while I've got these ghost vaginas going on.
Ghost vaginas.
These vaginal ghosts.
Vaginal. Vaginal.
Vaginal cervical
ghosts.
Ghouls.
What is that? Was that her thinking? Is that genuinely what happened? So then she's like, I better see.
And he's like, well,
as
luck would have it.
Well, of course, if you're sitting there and a woman says, "There's ghosts in my vagina," what possible thing could you think to suggest to get rid of him? And he's like,
Well, I'd say maybe go and see a psychiatrist.
It's probably if you're a ghost, go on.
And also, if you're saying there's a ghost up there, the last thing I'm putting up there is that.
Oh yeah, you might bite it off.
Yeah, like the film Teeth.
Yeah. Or he might just ghoul all over it, you know?
Oh.
Yeah.
That's awful.
So it's funny, I don't know how to pronounce his name, but it's like Huang. So it could be like Hung. I don't know. Like,
Was he well hung?
Well hung man, yeah.
Well hung.
But Hung then convinced the victim to have intercourse after explaining that ghosts in her vagina are preventing her boss from falling in love with her. Ghosts he could only catch with his penis.
Right, so he's diagnosed the ghost.
She didn't go to him saying, I've got ghosts.
But why would she go to a Ghostbuster?
No, because my
maybe
thinking is
not.
maybe he's got many. No, I'm not even going to use
He's a
that
man of
phrase
many
because it's terrible.
Yeah, he's got.
Yeah, maybe he's some sort of like
Love
witch
guru.
doctor.
Yeah.
Maybe he's like a witch doctor.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Yo, can you hook me up with like a love potion or something?" And he's like, "It's not the potion, it's the ghost vagina."
So he's going to catch him. So he's like the Hoover. He's going to hoover him out.
Yeah, he's like not safe for work Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who are you going to call? Huang.
Then it literally says the top line of this article is, "Who are you gonna call? Not this guy." So Zhizhan allegedly told authorities that he couldn't have sex with the victim because diabetes prevents him from achieving an erection.
Is that a thing?
It is actually a thing, yeah.
Is
like
it?
it like restricts your blood vessels, I think. Like your blood vessels can die off. And stuff.
Does all kinds of things, diabetes, doesn't it?
Yeah. Because when I was looking for this, I found another article about, I was basically trying to find a story about vampires, and I found, I was trying to find like a funny story about vampires. So I think I just went on Google and just typed in like vampire cock. And then I clicked on news or something, and it was
that's what you were doing. You were trying to find a funny story, and it was likely story. Yeah.
And there was this story about
it's helped me out a few times.
A man who, because of his diabetes, couldn't get a boner anymore, so he done what's called like this vampire injection or something. Apparently, it's something Kim Kardashian does on her face.
Vampire facial, yeah, she does those.
But he does it in his cock, and
no,
you basically like extract plasma and stuff from blood. And then inject it into your cock, and it like revitalizes it, I guess. So it's something
makes sense.
He claims he couldn't have sex with this lady. I guess so. He's denying the whole thing.
Did they say prove it? Prove you can't get an erection.
Take these videos.
Yeah. It even says so. It turns out he wouldn't have been able to help with the ghost problem after all.
Has it been resolved? The ghost
Stunning
problem?
Journalism again, isn't it? like. Yeah, what was the resolution? Did she get with her boss? I want to know. So many questions.
Yeah.
It says, I don't get this line.
She's still got ghosts in her vagina?
The story has also caused the Friskies Amy Angelovich to break up with the so-called Buster of Ghost. So
he had like a partner or something.
What dirty
yeah,
bastard.
and it says, she said, "Hung, you have crossed the line. You're a sick fuck." Angelovich writes in an angry letter announcing the severing of her romantic ties with Hung Jijong.
Do you reckon he just got caught cheating and he was just trying to think
like,
of an excuse?
Ghosts!
Yeah.
Ectoplasm, look!
And maybe she was like really old. You know, it was saying she's so old, her vagina's haunted.
Oh.
Maybe it is.
People say that?
Well, I've heard it before.
Maybe. But like, this...
Didn't Frankie Boyle make a joke about the Queen?
Oh,
use that
yeah,
phrase.
I think so.
Yeah.
But
how dare you?
That's my ghost story.
Her Majesty.
Yeah. And it involved finishing on a ghost. So
it did, yeah.
It did.
Wow.
That's great. Wow.
And kind of a rapist.
I mean,
bit
yeah.
rapey. We haven't had rape on the podcast for a while, though.
Great.
So.
No, I think last time I brought that topic as well.
Did we?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's avoid
It was
that.
when I was a guest.
But this one had ghosty themes, so
ghosty themes, all right, isn't it?
Yeah, ghosty themes. Yeah.
Wow.
I kind of relied more on Sven this episode.
Yeah.
than
I mean,
anything
Sven
else.
is the highlight of the season.
the highlight of the entire fucking podcast, I'd say.
And if you haven't listened to the whole thing, if you skip that, do go back and listen to it.
Yeah, it will be uploaded separately on YouTube as well. So you'll be able, like, if you just want to watch the interview and that's it, and you want to actually watch it and see what Sven looks like. So if you've been listening to this and you're kind of interested to see what Sven looks like now, almost like 20 years later, I think. Maybe, 15, 20 years later.
Like 15.
See what he looks like now. Go check it out.
Nice.
Very handsome lad.
Yeah.
All right, Tom. Fucking hell.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a fucking...
It's been a long one. What do you
I'm
reckon we're on?
sweating.
Yeah, it's very warm.
Oh, you must be.
sweating in there.
I'm freezing.
I'm a bit chilly now, yeah.
It's so humid in there. It's unbelievable.
You're going to be like sweat. You're going to be like wet when you take that off.
Oh, God.
I'm fucking
back in your
tired,
hole.
I'll be honest with you. I've been up since 6.
There was a few times in that
I know.
when Rob's eyes fully
Oh,
closed.
no. I was
Because I was trying to get your
Oh,
attention.
that's what you pointed out.
I knew you was. I
And
knew
Rob
you
was
was
just
doing
like
it.
this.
I got up at 6, went for a bike ride.
Sounds like your problem.
I know,
really,
it does sound like my problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it a nice bike ride, though?
It was average.
Oh.
My mate's tyre burst about 5 minutes in.
I'd say that's below average.
Yeah. For him, it was not a bike ride. Anyway, on that note,
it's been
I'm fucking going to bed.
Yeah. Well, you're not yet, so we've got to pack all this shit up.
Excellent.
But yeah, thank you very much for everyone tuning in. This is the spooky special, Halloween special.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Is this going to be out on the 31st? Is that the plan? Or on the
30th?
Yeah.
So have a good Halloween.
Have a good Halloween
tomorrow or today or yesterday. Whenever you listen to it. I hope you had or having a good Halloween.
Don't put razor blades in toffee apples.
No.
Don't accept sweets from strangers.
No.
I can't imagine there'll be many trick or treating.
There's probably trick or treating is probably illegal right now.
Yeah.
That's a good point. I wonder if they're going to do a statement on it.
Yeah,
maybe not.
I hope they're still doing offers on multiple packs of sweets, though.
Oh yeah, I'm good.
That's true.
Get them Haribos.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we'll be back with our standard viewing sometime next month. So it's going to be a quick
couple weeks.
good bonus. This is a bonus episode. Thank you to Faz for joining us
Thanks,
on
Faz.
the Spooky Special.
No worries,
Great
guys.
work.
It's been a pleasure.
Thanks, Mike.
And she
giving us the thumbs up.
she really has stuck to her costume. She's been inside.
Dedicated, the most dedicated, I'd say. I've put mine's the most. Mine basically might as well not be a costume, and I've still took my hood down. This is just clothes. I could just chill in this.
That's what we said earlier.
I could easily just chill in this.
I could see you at work.
I said that's a very Rob Oliver costume.
Yeah, this is just fairly normal. Yeah. Faz, dedication, top marks.
Thank you. Yeah, it's not nice in here right now.
All right, we'll let you get out then.
Yeah, we'll let you get out. Next episode's going to be another topic, so we won't reveal what that is just yet. But tune in
because you don't know.
We've got a selection.
Can we add a little caveat as well that could be cute for like our one listener? If you have any spooky stories from your life, please share them.
I would love it. I would genuinely love
Just
to
for
hear
George.
people's spooky stories. I really enjoy it, just hearing people's things
if
that
you
have
got
happened.
what real life ones you mean?
Real life
If-
ones,
yeah.
Either
that'd be great.
obviously, if you know me in person, definitely just tell me. I really enjoy listening to them. Or if you want to email them or get in touch on on Twitter or Instagram. Emails curioscast@gmail.com.
Yeah.
And then the Twitter and Instagram are just @curioscast.
Yep. We've got that branding.
Yeah, we've got the branding
on lock.
now. It's lovely.
Yeah.
So yeah, genuinely contact us if you've got anything you want to share.
Yeah. And if you ever do want to share a particular topic to just one of us, for example, of course our private Instagrams are linked at the top of our Instagram. But if you want to send an email, just put in like the subject to Tom, George, or Rob, whoever it is, and the other ones just won't read it.
We're probably going to do another episode about ghosts. So if you want something to be talked about in a future episode about ghosts, again, send it in and we'll discuss it.
Or if you want to be interviewed by a top journalist, Tom.
You know, if you want to be a guest through Zoom.
Yeah, or if you are a ghost and you want to get in touch, give us a shout.
The only stipulation is you have to be as handsome as Sven.
Yeah.
That's the stipulation.
I'm going to say if Bill's listening, contact Rob tonight.
No, fuck off. I wish I brought it up now. I just forgot about that. I just forgot about fucking Bill. All right.
You fucking cunt.
Let's get the fuck out of here.
Give me a fucking drink.
Thanks for listening.
See you later, guys.
Peace.
Peace.
Sleep tight.